this stuff out of the way. Yep. All right, we got our Yahtzee plan of attack, I intend to call this. So today's main goal is actually to learn Scanner. What we're going to do today is we're going to create the die class, but then we're also going to learn how to interact with the die class using the terminal of our system. So that's the main goal for this class is, yes, we're going to build a cup class, a die class, very, very simple. But we also want to make sure we can start interacting with our systems very, very early so we can test through systems very early in our code. So we know, is what I typed, is what I coded actually going to work? Does it actually work? I want to be able to test that more. And so we're going to do some slight scanner testing as well. So,
would it be possible for you to put this spreadsheet in Classroom somewhere?
a good idea. Move you guys out of my way so I can hit the share button.
Because I realized that while I got my dice working as I intended them, I forgot that there was a bunch of other stuff in here that
Yep.
it might not be working as the project was intended.
Makes sense. Yeah. Do actually. That. There we go. Good. Material. I can share it with 11 as well, so they have it. There they are. Close. Oop, wait, no. Ah, dang it. Material. I didn't hit. Nice. There it goes. And then go to Java material. Course material. Wait, did I put that? Did I put that on course material? I think I put it on course material. Yep, I did.
Thank you, Cliff.
The Java material.
Thanks.
There we go.
I took a picture. That works.
No worries. There you go. And it's also in cohort 11 as well. Let's put that. Good. All right. So we'll start with the die class. And hey, if we get through this quick, we might even include the dice class as well. It's all very, very simple. It's very small. So we might be able to do both today, but main thing first is to go to die class. And then can we get our system to interact with the die class on the console so I can test it? So what we're going to do now is go to IntelliJ and start a new project. So I don't want our drink dispenser anymore. Go away for the time being. We might come back to you. New project.
Oh, you're so slow. Come on.
Go. See. This window. That sidebar. I don't know why it makes it so freaking large. So to terminal. Again, first thing we do is what?
Commit.
Any new project. Yeah, let's create our repo. Internet. I'm actually going to do this time, so don't forget this time. GitHub repository. 12. Repository. Before I do any of that, I do have to do the first initial commit for that. So you git initialize, and then we'll do git. I gotta figure out why that message keeps popping up on me later. A. Now that we've committed, we can now do the items here. So we have an existing repository. Copy those 3 lines. Just hit the copy button there. Paste those in, and we're good. Awesome. So now, again, it's that way. If any of you guys miss a class or something like that, you can always download this. So you can be caught up with this. You can also use this to follow along. So at the start of any class day, pull this down. You can then branch off, and that way you can code along with what I have. And something that can be a good item is at the end of every class, during the breakers thing, rebuild what we built. Try to see how much from memory can you redo. It'd be a really good exercise to really kind of push home what we do in class. So let's build our die class. That up. New Java class. Die.
Yeah.
Death and destruction. Here we go. All right. We have a die class. All right. What were those fields we have again? If we look at our plan of attack, what fields do we have?
It was sides and value.
Sides and value. Now, when I think of sides, Keith definitely gave us the heads of what it was. It refers to how many sides are on the die, right? So what data type would fit for that?
Integer.
Well, couldn't it be something smaller than an int?
We probably could use byte.
Yeah.
Probably could.
Yes, since it'd always be 6, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think Yeah,
Do we
we just
really have
use
to
this
worry
one.
about it to that granular type of?
no.
Because, yeah,
In our systems, not really anymore because we are dealing with larger devices.
yeah.
Now, if you were coding for like a phone or for even better, one of those micro PCs, like you're doing Internet of Things stuff, or you're trying to make a smart toaster, now you care. Every byte matters. So if I was making a die to work on a smartwatch or something, like an app on a smartwatch, then I'm going to use the smaller data types so I can save memory. Perfect question.
That will change in a couple of years.
Probably.
Yeah, when we have a toaster with 10 terabytes.
Yeah.
Go. There.
So,
So what we call it, value, faces, sides. I mean, faces, sides, faces, value.
Well, this is just the count of sides, right?
yep.
So what do we think? We could definitely do facing sides, but this is where, again, the naming of an item, you gotta remember, whenever we use this item, I'm gonna do die.sides. So with that terminology, when we say die.sides, does that make sense what we're talking about, or do we need to be more specific in our variable name? So we care about and how this is for variable names is what is it gonna look like later on when we try to access this property? Does the phrase we have sides added onto the dot make sense? So you always want to think like die.sides. Do I need to be more specific, or does die.sides make sense? What do we think?
Number of sides? I don't know. Like number of sides.
Could do num sides. So that way it's not too much to type. Num sides.
Wow. That can't be the reason why, right, Cliff?
What do you mean?
I mean, Mosh is like, yeah, I don't, his descriptions are so long and
Yeah.
he does not care.
No, and that's if you're someone that can type it, like I totally am
Yeah.
fine with that. Number of sides, I can type that quickly. I'm fine with it.
I can't. So let's
Right.
go back to sides.
What about clean code?
Yeah. Oh, there he is. What's he got? A cigar in his mouth? Where'd you get that, buddy?
Is that the coffee one again?
Did you bring enough to share with the rest of the class?
I do actually. I've got more over there where that comes from. But yeah, so
That's one
what
really good
about clean
argument. What about
code?
clean code? Yeah. And this is what I'm trying to say. Is sides clean enough to be used in clean code? Die sides. What could we misconstrue it with? Can sides be misconstrued with any other data when connected to a die? That's what you want to wonder about. Clean code's all about if I was
I
to
was
send my
like,
code
when I first heard it, I was like, does that mean the numbers on the sides? Does that
or
mean
what?
For
the actual values
Number.
of the sides?
But there was another
Or
field that was valued.
yeah, if it wasn't a field that wasn't
Right.
like that's. So I mean, now that I know what it is,
No,
I'm
that's
fine with it.
that's the other part of the deciding factor. If you were to hand this code to someone else, can they read it and know instinctively what it means without having to ask you, hey, what do you mean by sides? So if someone has to ask you, then no, it's not clean enough. If someone has to ask you what this
I
means,
mean,
it's not
sides
clean enough.
it could be the color of the sides, the number of the sides. It could be a bunch of different things.
Yeah, we can do number of sides.
could-
Again, num sides could work, but again, you have to ask. If I hand this to
Well-
someone else, are they going to know what num sides means? We can go number of
First
sides.
of all, are you supposed to be capitalizing? No.
Oop, I
Number.
didn't the first time, but did this time. Yep. Thank you.
I personally like that, but Arnell, what you were saying, when you were saying clean code, this is more clean code than just sides, right?
yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, all right.
Basically, when it comes to variable names, your variable name should be understandable by someone who does not work for your company or your department and is seeing your code for the very first time. They should be able to go through it and it should make sense for them.
Like it.
So you're trying to make it universally understandable, super simple, not long for the sake of being long, but long enough so that long enough and short enough so that people can understand it. If you can do it in a short, pithy way, do it. But that's that.
I would be careful about saying from outside the company because some companies do have company-specific words. So those are
Well,
safe to
like,
use.
well, so for instance, if a consultant comes in, and this is a good case in point, we recently had received some code from another company.
True.
And I didn't even show it to you because there was no clean code in that thing. I was like, oh my God, this is just
Good point.
insane.
Didn't think of consulting. Yeah.
Yes, consultants come in and someone comes in, it's like, what in the world? I was like, this isn't gonna
You're
help.
right. I've dealt with really bad clean code. Even if the variables look
We have-
descriptive, they
Look,
do make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even the company from Lincoln,
Yeah.
it was like insanity.
The code looked clean, but when you start getting into like, yeah, no, this is not making sense at all. So anyway, yeah, being descriptive is good. Definitely. And so it definitely can't hurt to be decent at typing, but take that time, do descriptive names.
That's all.
So in that sense, we have the other one that we were talking about, value. Does that make sense or is there a better variable name?
That's the value of the whole die, right?
Yeah, whatever active value is. Yep. So you would call it the face-up value, possibly.
There you go.
Could call it that.
Because when Matt G just said that, I was like, what is he talking about? The whole die, like
It was
every
weird.
number on
Yeah,
the, every number on the die.
Yeah. The way it would word it is, yeah, the die that's facing up, or the die of the value that we consider the die after we roll it. When we roll, we say, oh, that's a 6. That's we're saying now we're speaking the value. Or hey, it's a 4. That die is 4.
Would we set both of these to 0? Because that's what you start out as?
We could. We can also initialize them in the constructor as well. So that's again debating on where do we want to initialize them. So I want to talk about the constructors. But before I want to set those, I actually want to talk about these constructors because now we have something interesting. We have 2 values, but we've talked about this before. If I tell one of you guys, hey, go grab a die, what are you going to do? Or dice. What kind of dice are you going to grab?
Sided.
Right? You're going to get a 6-sided die and you might put it on the
20-sided
table.
dice.
What's that?
So the 20-sided guys.
Yeah,
You're a
Dungeons
D&D
and
player.
Dragons dice.
Don't make me get my dice bag again.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna get my coin because it has 2 sides on it. It's a
That's a
dice.
D2.
But 9 times out of 10, you ask an everyday person, hey, go grab some dice. They're going to bring you some 6-sided dice. If you don't clarify the sides, you're 9 times out of 10 going to get a 6-sided die. And so could this be a great way for us to realize that there is a default constructor? Again, using the real world as inspiration, is it safe to say that there is a default constructor for this object?
Yes.
Does anybody disagree? Anybody not sure? Does anyone know what I mean by a default constructor?
We're going to set our values
It
to
should be 6.
Well, we can set the number of sides, but the face-up value, we don't really set in the default constructor.
It's not something we need, so we could, right? It's
Yeah,
not like the idea of
everyone
like putting it on the
will.
table.
Yeah,
and
but
always-
why do we have to? There's no reason to.
What do you mean? To set the face of value. Do anyone have any idea why we should set the default value?
Because in a real world example, it would be set to something. The dice wouldn't have no value. The face-up value is always going to be something.
Has nothing to do with the game though, at the end of the day. What those values are, doesn't mean anything.
But
Yeah, but
making
there's
it
no
realistic.
0 on
Because if
dice.
you're looking at, if it was a picture instead of just a number, it's not going to be a picture of a dice that says 0. It's going to be a picture of a dice that says 1, like the example that we
Yeah,
played yesterday.
Right.
no, I
or 2 days
understand.
ago.
But that information is never going to be used for anything because the totals of the die are never calculated unless it's been rolled first.
True.
That
So let's think of
initial
it in a
value-
Java sense. Is there a reason in Java to set this int to something?
No,
No?
I actually didn't even use the face-up value in my constructor.
Well, you
Can you assign a value to it without it being initialized?
You can, in certain senses, yes, you can assign values to an int. as long as you're using the equal sign only. If you try to do plus equal or plus plus or minus minus, you'll crash. So it's one of those things you want to keep in mind with ints is that ints they don't have to be defined initialized. They don't need to be initialized as long as they are safely assigned to later on.
So are we ever going to be plus equaling or subtracting from the face of
So that's
value?
it. There's the real question you want to ask yourself on this is, are we ever going to not just assign to this value?
Which I can't, right now, I can't think of a situation where we're not just going to be assigning it.
True.
So we
So we
don't
could
have to initialize it.
We can start that way. That's something we can start with. And if we ever notice, you know what, we do want to display, let's say like in the game you guys played yesterday on Tuesday, all ones, we can then initialize them later. So it is something we could do and be like, you know what, yeah, it might be beneficial for us to initialize it to 1, just so we have something to display at the beginning of the game. So the start, yeah, our default constructor. Now the other part of the question, does anyone know what I mean when I say default constructor? I do believe it's a term we have not used before. So when I say default constructor, does anyone know what that means?
I don't know for
Constructor with-
sure. I can kind of take a guess.
For that, I want to hear from some others I haven't heard from yet. You've answered a couple questions so far.
Sorry.
Want to hear from
Somebody
me?
else. Go for it. What do you think
No,
a default
no,
constructor
yes, only kidding.
is? Take a guess. Come on, hypothesis.
Isn't it just a generic constructor using whatever values are part of it?
I wouldn't say whatever values are part of it.
You mean like when you set the field, there's a specific type of data type already set in the constructor? Like you could have it be set to 6. So when you instantiate it, it'll always have 6 instead of it just being.
Right. So here's my question for everybody. If you create an object right here, I created this object here, and I do not write a constructor, but I'm going to do this quick just for testing purposes.
Yeah, it's a deep, I'm confused by that question though, because
I know.
I know if you set no constructor, you have a default constructor.
Yeah,
What is the default? Well, hold on. Save that thought before I get into that. So if I was to do this now, just for the fun of it, I'd like int get face value. And for now, I'm just going to return 1 because we don't have a value and I don't want to break it. Just for that, is this a valid object?
You can't initialize it, so no.
Well, let's find out if I can or can't initialize it. Does anyone think we can initialize it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does. Oh yeah, it assumes for you. Forgot.
making it. Let's see.
But that's not a static method though. But it does use the default constructor because it assumes it.
No yelling at me yet, so let's see what happens. So it works, right?
Worked.
I didn't build any constructor, so that has to tell us that there is what? What's inside of every object?
Constructor.
Default constructor.
Well, there is a default constructor not being seen.
Exactly. Every object has a default constructor.
Oh.
What is that default constructor?
It's
So is this supplied by the compiler?
Actually, the parent, right?
public
The parent
die.
object.
it's
Parent class. Good. Remember, every
Yeah.
object's part of the object class.
Oh,
It is
right.
provided by the object
capital
class.
O object, right?
Yep. But does anyone want to take a guess? What if we wanted to build that default constructor that does the exact same thing we just did? What would I type?
it would be public. Just die, and then the parentheses and open. Yes, squirrely brackets. Return.
Just return.
Yeah.
Or do nothing. Yeah. Or that. I guess. Yeah, you're right. We
thought-
just do the curly brackets. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought. Yeah. That's,
Yeah.
But we
That's
do want
the-
to set the number of sides, right? In the default
Right, but
constructor.
what I'm trying to get to though, this is your default constructor. That's what that term means. It's a constructor with no parameters, no arguments. That's your default constructor. Make sense?
I thought it
constructor
was.
Always
So
have.
it contains the values, number of sides and face-up value.
What's that?
It still contains the fields within that default constructor.
It does, well, again, it's not the constructor that contains the fields. The object has the fields. So that's why even though this constructor doesn't have anything in it, it doesn't need to because the properties exist in the field. So that's why I was still able to do the get face of value return 1. If I did do this, just for the fun of it,
Will give us 4.
again, we see we get it. The constructor didn't touch the field because the field exists in the object. The constructor can do stuff to the fields, can set other initialized values, but it's not up to the constructor to do that. The constructor doesn't have the fields per se. It has access to them, but it doesn't, I wouldn't say it does anything to the fields, if that makes sense. So we see what what could someone maybe in their own words, what would you say the constructor does again? What is this? What's the purpose of the constructor?
Maybe to have a starting point for an instance.
Instance in 2 seconds. Bring them in, switch them over to their room. Oh, also, Arnell, I will make you a co-host. So if you want to go jump over the other 2, you can. Say hi to the ones practicing. Make co-host. I really gotta set you to be a default co-host. There you go. Yeah. And then where'd the breakout rooms go? There we go. There she goes. All right. And she's off. Awesome. All right, good on that. Awesome. We're talking about, oh yeah, so it initializes a variable. And if you had to think about what makes 2 initialized variables different, or two initialized objects. So if I have the 2 initialized objects, I have my black cup, my white cup, my red cup, my blue cup, and green cup. What makes those different? How do we know that they're different instances? What have we seen before that allows us to know that they are different?
Reference in memory.
Yeah,
That thing we print out, right?
yeah.
And so what can we argue that, or if we had to take an educated guess and take a logical assumption, then what do we assume the constructor actually does?
It instantiates the object into memory.
And gets us that reference, right? Little peek under the hood. So that's what this default constructor is really in charge of. Reserving that space in memory, getting that reference, and returning the reference. And that's what the constructors do for us. That makes sense? And then
Yes.
we, of course, as developers, can have our constructors do more if we want. So in this case, we can say, hey, when we say get a die, and they don't give us any sort of details about what kind of die they want, we're going to simply say number of sides equals 6, the default dice we have available, the default type of dice. The other thing I want to point out here is note how in this constructor, I did not use this.
About to ask about that.
Does anyone remember why do we use this in a lot of our constructors?
Because it separates the parameter from the argument.
And parameter from the argument, correct. And we only need to do that though if the parameter and the argument are what?
The same?
Same name.
Exactly. So if I was to do number of sides here, actually, let's do it again. I do number of sides equals number of sides. What does this tell me right now? Why is it yelling at me?
Doesn't know which
Trying to
one
assign
it
it
is.
to itself.
It doesn't know which one it is.
Yeah, variable number of sides is assigned to itself.
Yeah.
Definitely not great, right? It's kind of like that redundancy you would see in like old school math, where you would see them, they'd be like, well, x is equal to x. Duh. Right?
Yeah.
Or if you ever saw like a equals to b, not that. B is equal to c. In that case, we can say that c is equal to a, right? That's a safe thing to say, right? That just means they're all equal, right? So this is kind of that concept we're hitting on. We're kind of hitting self-referential, self-equaling. And so what Java needed was a way to be able to know which one you need. We want to be able to use this because it would suck for me to have to come up with different names for each parameter of an object when I'm sending it that parameter. I have to keep doing like new number of sides or a number of sides, or have to keep on coming up with different names for the parameters. which again, if we think about it, is going to be annoying in clean code sense when we're in main and I want to get that. And I want to see what it's asking me for. I want it to show me that property name. I would love for it to be able to display the specific property name I'm sending, right? Instead of some different name here. So again, I love this concept because hopefully I want this to stick in your head one of these days. When someone asks about this and scope and stuff with the constructors and things, if you ever get the question about it, always remember that. If I was to go ahead and ask Titus, hey, Titus, I need you to get me a NOS energy drink over at 7-Eleven. Where are you going to go?
7-Eleven.
Which one though?
Whichever one's closest to me at the time.
Right, exactly, right? Now, what if there's a specific flavor of NOS I want and it's not at every 7-Eleven? Like, hey, Titus, I need you to go get me the yellow NOS energy drink from the 7-Eleven over on Empire Street. What are you going to do now?
Go to 7-Eleven on Empire Street.
Exactly. And that's where this comes into play. If I just tell it, hey, go get the number of sides, Java's just going to take the path of least resistance and find the one closest to it. In this case, the one closest to it was the object one. There wasn't one in the method that it could access. And it can't access the one over here because it's scoped. So for this method, it says, oh, I'm going to grab that. That's the closest one to me.
Well, if we wouldn't we not run into this problem or even have to think about it if we set the number of sides into fields to 6 automatically, so it could just draws from that rule. If we're already saying it's 6 every time we grab it, it will be 6 automatically.
Again, we've already talked about situations where there are other types of die now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So why not have 2 constructors, right?
Exactly. Make our object more fun to use, more real life demonstrating. So is this something you would have to do for the Yahtzee game? No. Yahtzee only uses one type of die. So you could always do that. But then this die would not be as transferable to other programs, right? We could take this die from our Yahtzee game now, put it in some sort of package, and then import it into our
Dungeons and Dragons
game.
I like Titus's idea. Let's just default 6, please.
No Dungeons and Dragons.
All right, we'll play Star Wars instead. That uses just D6s.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
There you go. Sides equals number of sides. That's what the keyword this does for us. So I have 2 ways of asking for a die. I can ask for, hey, get me a die, and they're going to get me a 6-sided die. I can also say, hey, get me a 10-sided die, and they'll go get a 10-sided die, or do we keep that and be like, I'm not doing that. You can get that yourself. I'm out of here. Like they're asking me for dice with different sides. Nope, I don't want to be any part of this.
Now, what if we call now that we have 2 constructors, and you call that in the main, how would the program know to differentiate between the first and second? They all just pop up, or because they're going to behave different. Both of those that die.
I think you would know because depending on
the
if you do
parameters.
a parameter or not, or an argument or not.
Yeah. If you put an argument in, you'll get the second one. If you don't, you're going to get the first one.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, again, here's that understanding. If you think about it, what is these 2 things? What are these? They are a method with the same name. So what's that term we use?
Overriding.
Overloaded.
Ooh, we got override and overload.
Overload.
2 names.
Overload.
I always get these 2 confused.
We use this. Actually, we had some of this in our drink dispenser. I remember now. Same mission. Just this is a little bit easier to conceptualize because it's dice.
Yep. Simpler. Yep.
Sure, I got you. I get it now.
And we overloaded our die. We say, hey, if I'm told to create a new die with no parameters, like in here, if we do this, no parameters. Also, we got to do that for now. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, I need to do that. Okay, never mind. Yeah, if I say with new die, this, and actually what I'm gonna do here, instead of doing get base of value, I'm just gonna do sides, number of sides. There we go. So I say die, new die with no parameters. And so this would be, again, mimicking the real world. That's what we want to use in our code. And that's what object-oriented is all about, having our code resemble the real world. This is akin to me asking someone, hey, go grab some dice. You want to play Monopoly or something, I don't know. You're gonna go, and the everyday person that doesn't play Dungeons and Dragons every other day is going to go get a 6-sided die. But now if I play, we'll see that. See, it gets me the 6. But now if I hit new die, I hit those parentheses open, I see that there's a no parameter option and a int number of sides option. So IntelliJ shows me that I have 2 variations to the constructor. And so I'm going to say, oh, okay, well, we'll get Matt's 20-sided die that he showed us. And now I hit play, and we'll see I get the 20-sided die.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
So I know if you had like 2 constructors with 2 ints and they took 2 ints, it wouldn't work.
No.
But what if one was a byte and an int and then the other one was 2 ints? Would that work?
Yeah, I do believe it would, because those are considered different data types. So
Different data types. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Like,
Yeah, that's what's considered implicit casting, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
you could
that
go
is.
down, but you can't go up. Like you can. The smaller, like an int is smaller, is bigger than a byte. You can go down that direction, but you can't use well, I mean, you could
I
probably
could,
use a byte.
because it would just define it up here.
well, when you go to put that in, how does it know which one you want? That's
the thing. You'd have to use typecasting on the number. So when I type 20,
oh,
so if I do this, we do know if I type the number 20, by default, Java sees that as an integer, right? As an int. So I'd have to typecast that as byte.
oh, right
Use the byte.
there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I would typecast the number as a byte.
But it would error out if you put in like, because a byte only goes up so far. If you typed in like a million.
1 over 130.
Well, we would have data loss.
130.
I don't know if it would error. I think it would just do data loss.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, it won't error. It will give you the like I believe the max
Rollover?
value of it, and that'll be an indicator that you need to cast it. If that happens.
Let's find out what's the max that a byte can go.
36, I think.
127.
What?
Yeah, I think it is 127.
Sure, we'll just go super high.
It makes sense. That it's 127.
We'll just go over big. So it actually, the Java will actually
Oh,
yell at
it's
us.
too big
to
for
do it.
integer.
Interesting. So it won't let us do it that way. I wonder. Nah, probably
It's
won't let me
because
do
that
this.
number is too big to be an integer.
Yeah, not even an inch, just too big to be a byte.
Byte. Yeah,
No,
that's
that's not. You're right. That's too big to be an integer. You're right. Integer number too large. Whoops. There it goes. The
So it
103.
does the
So
most that byte can do.
I don't think that's the maximum value though.
no.
Why does it choose 103? I wonder.
I'll explain it in 1 second. Hold on. So make sure that I'm right. Yeah, so it took 108. So 103. Does anyone remember? Did I show you guys the video? I think I showed you guys the video. Why did the integer showed me 103?
Keeps looping over the maximum value back to like negative whatever it is.
Which is, do you remember what that's called again?
Overflow.
Integer, or in this case, byte overflow. Yeah, it's overflow. Remember the bake a cake for 4.5 years? Did I show you guys that?
Oh,
I don't remember anything about baking cakes.
Ah, dang it. I don't think I did that.
I think
Paper
so.
Mario.
Mario thing, right?
Paper Mario, yeah. Did I really show you guys that one yet? Ah, dang it. Later, next time. We'll have to show that next time. Maybe on Monday.
It's just interesting to see this.
Over simplistic concept. Old school cars did before they had the digital odometers. If you hit all 9s and you went up an extra mile over, what happened?
Went back to 0.
All the way back to 0, right? You didn't drive the car at all, did you?
Isn't that Ferris Bueller?
Yeah.
Drive home backwards.
Yeah, they do it backwards.
Kind of. We were talking about the other way when you go all the way up to the top and then you roll over and it goes back to 0.
Goes back to 0.
That way would have actually worked.
You could sell a 70-year-old car that has no miles on it.
Oh, it was Matilda that showed that concept too.
That
like
was
rolling the car
Matilda,
back.
yeah. I got a guy on Broad Street that can do that for you. Let me know. Trying to sell your car.
Pass that state inspection.
Luckily, digital cars have made that a lot harder to do unless you can hack the car. So, but yeah, that's the same concept as integer overflow. If you go above what this can handle, it's going to overflow. And so, and to be honest, I don't know if it's overflowing or I think it's overflowing because it didn't just take the lowest amount it could. So yeah, it took that integer value and decided to treat it as a as, I don't know exactly what it treated it as, but it tried to figure out how many times it rolled over. So fun. And randomly give us 103. Because yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, because yeah, this doesn't equal 103. So it went to its maximum value, rolled over, and just kept going until it figured out how many times over zero, over its max value to min value, it eventually hit. So, interesting. Yeah, that's how it can handle it. And so as long as you send the data type that the constructor wants, it will behave with that that constructor. And so overloads are based on parameters and parameter types. So it's called actually, who said it in the chat? Someone said it in the chat. They used the correct terminology in it. Who was that? Joel did it.
Yeah, the
Yes.
signatures are different. That's how the
These are called-
compiler knows.
It's called the signatures of, in this case, constructor, but it's also used for methods as well. It's the method signature. So this right here is the signature. And as long as your signature is unique, you can make as many overloads as you want.
Could you quickly explain to me the difference between an overload and an override? Because I keep getting those two confused.
Yes, overload and override. So does anyone actually want to, I'm going to test. Does anyone actually know what the difference is? Can anyone tell me what the difference is?
I do.
I know you do. Let's see. I'm going to actually pick someone that I haven't heard from much today. Emilio, what's the difference between an overload and an override? Right there. You're muted. Oop, there he is.
Oh,
no mic.
no mic.
Still today. Yep. All right, I'll come back to you then. Let's see. Slimer, do you know?
I would say the difference is overloading. You have a similar format and change what it does, or nah, I'm not too sure.
No worries. Again, I was actually going to tell you if we read it wrong yet, because I want to ask a couple people.
Isn't
That's
it
something I tend to do. Hold on, Titus. I'm
Alright.
testing people. I'll come to you. I'll ask one more person, then I'll ask you next. Let's try. Who has a guess? Who thinks they have a guess? They're not confident they know it, but has a guess other than Titus.
Other than me?
Isn't
You're not- wait.
overriding have to do with like the child class? Like if it's just the child class and the parent class have the same name?
All right. Again, I'm not saying yes or no's. So Titus, take your guess.
Kind of, I think overloading is done in the same class while overriding is done in the parent and child class, or reverse. But I know it has to do with
Oh. So it's scope dependent.
yeah, but I don't know if I got it like switched up or switched back. But I know it has to do, one's within the same class and one is like parent and child class.
Because overloading is what we just did here in the same class.
Mhm.
So an
yeah.
override is
The overriding would be like with the parent class and a child class.
got it.
Yeah, there we
Okay.
go. Yeah, we're piecing together. Yep, that's exactly it. So yeah, we did an override. So
I
that's
don't understand the
Well,
other one,
well, just
So-
the override.
point out, if you really want to just understand like what overriding is, just always think to the two-string method. It
That's-
already has
yeah.
a two-string method, but you could override it by writing your own two-string method.
Oh,
You can
yeah,
do
I
it
get
any
that
way
one.
you want to because it's already
And-
existing in the system. So anything that exists in the
So it's a
Java,
member.
you can override that because you can make your own custom. You can make your own custom off that. So if like, so you could override. I don't know how much you can override, but I know like the string method you could definitely override all the time. You can make it customized.
So making a new constructor is an override, but making multiple constructors within the same class is an overload.
You got it.
over.
Hold on. We are
Wait, say
by
that
doing
again?
this, we are overriding the default constructor. By doing
Oh,
this,
yeah.
we are overriding the default
Yeah.
constructor because the default constructor is just public die super. So by doing this, we're gonna we override the default constructor. So that is true. And then by doing this, we then also overload the default constructor by doing this one. So this one then overloads the default constructor.
Okay. I think I have enough to grasp it now. Thank you.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
that was
And-
immensely helpful.
The
Good,
overloading
and-
is like each you have duplicate methods and duplicate constructors, but they all have to be doing something different. And you can so you can customize which one you want to use.
By
And
data
last thing-
type though, right?
By data types. Yep, by data
Yeah.
types and number of parameters. So it's both.
Okay. Yeah, that's
As
right.
long as-
Number of parameters.
As long
so-
as the parentheses between the two items are different, this is not the item that matters. It's this that matters. So yeah, you were right. The data type.
Or
Good.
that
And the
could-
last thing,
You could do this with methods too. You can build the same method 4 times.
well, that's what toString is. ToString's a
well,
method. So
Well, to string, but you can also, if you have you could do like 5 different role type of methods, and they would roll different ways. Like you could.
I'm pretty sure I should get this. Like I don't know if anyone's ever done this before, but if you look, the print line method is massively overloaded.
Yeah.
It's very overloaded here. We got several different options on how to do print line. That's why we can give it whatever we want, and it'll attempt to print that item. So it takes like whenever we do the this guy right here, the object. That's whenever we get that this one for the object reference code that we get from memory. That's what that one is. That's the object. So there's a bunch of overloads there, right there. So you can just see that, yeah, methods can definitely be overloaded. The last thing on the quick side note, just for anyone who wants to put in their brain, this is kind of the just extra knowledge bit, but the only methods you can't overload or override, are ones that are marked as final. So if a method is marked as final, that, as you can say, is final, that means that this is the final version. You cannot override this one. So that's the one thing I do want to clarify, just that way. So Jim, so you add that to your minimum member bank. You're right. You can overload most items, but yeah, there are some you can't. The ones you cannot override are the methods marked as final. Cool. Good little side note on that. Make sure we understand those terms of art. We definitely want to make sure that we know those terms of art. So yeah, if I ever say a term of art and it's not ringing a bell and you forgot it, let's do another one of these again where we test you guys. Want to make sure we understand it. All right. So die, we got our overload die, we got our get face up value, which we don't really need because it's a public value. So I just wanted to showcase that so that was a valid method. It's really a useless method on a public item. All right, we got that. Next thing we need, go back to our plan of attack. Let's go back to our plan of attack, actually, just to confirm. What's the next thing we need?
We need
Oh.
a roll.
This
And
is
then
what I've been like kind of struggling with, just like the methods. Like, how do you tell a computer to roll a die or tell
Let's
it?
think about it. Yeah.
So,
What? So first off, let's at least do this. We at least know we want a roll. So again, at the for the moment, I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to return anything. So we'll do void for the moment. If I decide I'm going to return something, I can change it. What?
we know it's going to be an int.
Yes, we're pretty confident it's going to be an int here, but
I
always
think you
say,
could do it as a void.
start with
also.
void.
All right.
Sure.
I always do
Fine.
everything as a void.
As you
because I
get
don't
better
know
with
what I'm
code, you'll
returning now.
definitely be better at coming up with it off the bat. Don't be annoyed.
I was only kidding. I've seen if you're watching me. I guess
don't
you
even know
are.
watching you. I heard it.
Did I say something? I just went
No,
like
slammed
this.
your desk.
Oh, my mic is that sensitive. All right, I'm gonna mute.
I saw motion and I heard it like, oh, what'd I do? Trying to give me a heart attack here. Oh, damn, I'm sad Marnell missed that one. Marnell dropped out at some point.
He'll catch the recording.
There. But yeah, no, if you get good at code, you'll then, yes, right away, if you can definitely deduce, you know what, I am gonna return an int on this. And so go ahead with that. If you can deduce right away what your return type is, what I want to do right now is make sure that anyone who is unsure what the return type is at the beginning can feel comfortable putting void to start and then changing it later. So that's kind of what I'm showing here is like, don't be afraid. Don't feel like you have to put a return type in order to start writing your method. Start void, and then as soon as you hit that return line, like, oh, hey, I am returning something. And what is this? Ah, it's int. I'm going to return an int. Cool.
It's also good having void there anyway, so you can do a print.
How many people?
Value is.
Hold on. I got 2 questions.
Couldn't you change, I mean, keep it as a void and then just change what the value is? You don't necessarily have to return the int. You could just change
That's
what the
what we can argue
base
about. Yeah,
value
I
is.
was like, you have a discussion about that. So yeah, we have a discussion about that. Do we have to return it because we can access it via base of value? So is it something we have to return? Something we definitely ask. And that's something that really depends on how do you want to interact with the die? Do you want the die to give you the value when it rolls, or do you always want to access the value? So it's something you can debate with your team. And we'll talk about that in a second once I finish this. So for now, we need to roll something. So I'm going to do face up value, which is 1, just to start. Just to start there. And then, yeah, maybe we'll want to return the number for now. Let's start with that, and then we'll have the debate later about whether or not we do or do not.
I also will point out, like, you could put a print statement there just to make sure that your method's working and, printing out properly and actually working with no problems, or what should be expected, what should come in reply.
Wait, you want to do a printout or something on this?
No, I was saying that when you do when I do void, sometimes I'll put the print statements in there just to make sure that the method's actually acting like I was
Right.
hoping it was supposed to.
Okay, I see what you're
But like
saying.
now, this is going to return a 1, so you already know that. It's not like
Yeah.
it's expecting something different.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you test with a print statement, make sure that the method actually ran, that it did what you wanted it to do. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I'm gonna roll a die, but now we need to figure out how we actually roll a die in the game. So if we have to think of the real world, when I roll a die, what happens? How would you
Bounces all over
phrase?
the place.
Pick it up and roll it.
What was that?
Pick it up and you roll it.
Right. And so what happens to the die?
It
Is
bounces
there-
all over the place.
Right, rolls all over the place. Is there any sort of pattern we can find? We can algorithm? No.
A
So what does
random
it do?
number is generated.
Yeah, it gets us a random number, right? That's why we use the die, because we have no idea what it's going to do. Well, if I don't know how to do that in Java, what can I do? I'm guessing what everybody
The word
did.
random.
What's that?
Look up the word random.
Which is, yeah, just do Java random. And almost every single coding language has some sort of random generator. We need that system. We need random systems in here. So how do you use math random? That's not what I want, though. I don't need a guide. Keep it simple. Go to the actual documentation. So we get the random class. So it's a class, not just a item. It's a class. And we've worked with classes before. List was a class. So we've dealt with class before. Classes are not a new thing for us. As a class, at least. Might be new in general, but not as a class anymore. You've used a couple now. Some things. What's going on in here?
Interesting.
Math, got random.
Got everything I need. Ooh, wait, what? Joel's posting in Slack. Ah, okay. Okay, just additional knowledge. I can read that later. Okay. Thank you for the information, Joel. Quick question for you. Is it Joel or Joel?
Joel.
Yeah,
Joel,
Joel.
right? Okay, I'll make sure I say it like that. I had a friend who was Joel, and he spelt it the same way when I was younger, so I ended up getting that habit out of in my brain.
Yeah, I get Joel a lot. I'm used to
Yeah.
it.
Yep, like I said, I had a friend, I don't remember how long ago, but yeah, we went by Joel and it was spelled the same. So now my brain always, whenever it sees your name, I want to just say that. I'm like, no, I'm pretty confident everyone calls him Joel. So just gotta break the habits. So anyway, random. We need a random. So it's a random class. Let's see, do we have to instantiate it? Is it static? What do we need to know? Let's look at the example quick. Let's scroll down a bit. So I got a random method. Anyone see anything here where we need to create one? If we need to instantiate it or not?
Yep, right there.
Here we go.
Underneath random.
Is there a static method in math that allows you to use it?
Yeah, if you scroll up, it's there.
I believe there
Right
is.
there.
I just wanted to make sure.
You got to keep going, right? And like right
Ah,
there.
Does Java.util.
Yep, that was there. Yep. And math.random is simpler to use because you don't. I will say Java is instantiatable. And one thing I want to point out here is this thing here. Does anyone have any idea what this means? Pseudo random.
It's not actually random.
No,
Not
it's
actually.
not. Right. For anyone who I've loved this. This is a fun little topic for me because I love this system. But yeah, when you actually do random, what the computer does is it does a math equation and it gets one of those pi numbers, which is an never-ending infinite chain of numbers, of digits. And so what they've done, whenever you ask for the next random number, it just grabs a segment of that infinite chain and gives it to you. When you do the same math problem, what are you going to get?
Same number.
and you get the same number, right? So you keep doing the same math, we're going to keep getting the same number. That's not, even though the very first time you do it, it looks random. Pi looks random when we first looked at it, but then we realized it's not random. We get this every time we ask for pi, we get the same set of numbers. So it's not actually random. And so that's what pseudorandom was. So what they did, which was really interesting, is how do you get an equation to change that? What could you do to an equation to still get that random chain at the end, but change the result, the numbers?
Set a seed.
Yeah, we can set what's called a seed or multiply it. If you take that result and multiply it by something, it changes the numbers, but it's still never ending. So we can get that system. And so that's why you see math.random with the multiplier, same with the random thing here as well. We're taking that seed system and we're randomizing it. We're changing it with the seed. So, and for most systems nowadays, at least math.random, for example, what it's using, it tends to use, like, it's really fascinating what things use for random now. If you had to think of something that you could use a seed that is not going to be, every time you grab that seed number to seed your pseudo-random system, what could you grab that's never going to be the same?
Time.
Time always changes, right? Yeah, time's always, we're always moving forward in time. Every single second's a new time. So we got that. Anything else that could be hard to control? So make sure the hackers can't do it. Because I guess if you knew that they were using time for the pseudo-random, you could try to predict when they're going to instantiate it, or if you could figure out when that server started up and when they instantiated their random generator, maybe you could then create the randomizer.
Sorry to cut you off. Can you repeat what you just asked?
Is there anything else that could be hard for a hacker to emulate? That would be hard to control? No, to seed the pseudo-random system.
Well, I was just saying, I was just going to say token, but isn't that kind of in the way you're describing math and just the concept of the random generator? Isn't that essentially what a token kind of is?
Kind of, yeah. And again, someone could leak the token. Token could be leaked. What's interesting, I've read some articles where they're using the temperature of the CPU to seed it.
They use a lot of prime numbers for that.
Yep, probably. I would see that. That would be a smart thing to do.
How granular is the temperature of the CPU get to, though?
Well, again, it's just the precision of the temperature, and since it's so random, that's the thing. Unless you can get your random system to also use the same temperature or know what the temperature of the system was at the time of instantiation.
But there is still a small amount of numbers that it could be.
Probably.
You mean like how many decimal points does it have? The temperature.
That's the level of precision.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I don't know what the level of precision is. I just thought that they use multiple different things. They'll use, like I said, they'll use time, humidity,
like multiple spots on the CPU. There's multiple spots on the CPU you can get temperature from.
True. So they could get all 4 spots on the CPU or all quadrants or whatever. But it's just fascinating that they thought to use, hey, we can add in the temperature of the CPU. So not just the time, which someone could try to predict, but the time and the temperature of the CPU. Maybe if there's a humidifier detector in the computer, they could use that, detect the humidity. Like, there's so many different things that just cannot be controlled by the outside world that makes it hard for someone somewhere else to then hack the system to make sure that the item is truly random. Because we're taking random aspects. Time, when did they actually start it up? That's going to be kind of random. What temperature was the CPU at the time of seeding? There's no way to know what the exact temperature of the CPU will be when you hit that instantiation point. So it's just it was a fascinating article for me to see that problem solving come into play. What can we use to make sure people can't guess this or can't?
They use JavaScript for for casinos as far as the slot machines and how they're generating. What's that?
I don't know if it's JavaScript. Like, I'm sure there's a mix of them.
I mean Java. Or
yeah, could be Java.
How are they like? So they have to put out so many winners per law.
Yep.
So how are they doing it? Like, how are they coding to be like?
There's something you can look into called weighted weighted selectors. So there's a thing where you have a set of numbers, and yes, every single number. And if I have a set of like 1 through 6 in our die, there's a 1 in 6 chance to get any of those numbers, right? So 1 in 6 chance of winning. Hell, on Mass 20-sided dice, you have a 1 in 20 chance of getting what you want, right?
Yeah.
Well, the concept of a casino is that they can, for those potential options, you can actually weigh those options and say, you know what, the number 7 has 2 times the chance of landing versus everyone else. So everyone else has a 1 in 7 chance on a 6-sided dice. I could say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 have a 1 in 7 chance of rolling, but the 6 has a 2 in 7 chance of rolling.
That's right.
So they can code that system in there. So certain items pay more often and have a higher chance of showing up. So you can set those lower
like
payouts
craps.
to show higher. Yep. Yeah, in a way, yeah, you can think about it like that. Yeah, that's a very similar way of putting at it. 2 is very hard to hit, but yet 7, 6, and 8 are very
30.
easy. Yeah.
He's 30.
Yep. Yeah, the numbers 7,
Or
6,
like a
and
hard
8 are
12.
super easy.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Boxcars.
Yep. Very good way of looking at it. I didn't think of craps. Yeah, that's a very good way of putting at it. Yeah, that the range, the dice aren't weighted, but the ranges are kind of weighted. The likelihood of hitting 7 is way higher than the
Hard
likelihood of hitting the
6,
2.
hard 8, hard
Yep.
4.
Yep. So.
I happen to know this game.
I can see. You know the terms. I'm like, I don't know. I such a craps. I never really took the time to learn the rules. I really should. It seems like it'd be a fun game if you get into it. If you can actually have fun.
You know,
can actually have fun with it.
there's a pass line and a don't pass line, and the don't pass is basically gambling the shooter is going to lose. That's why I like the game. So it becomes one of these things where like people blame you for betting on the opposite side of them rolling. They get really mad. They just lost thousands of dollars. You won 10, and you're like, yeah. And they just, like it's against each other. It's not just against the
I was gonna
house.
say, yeah, the crowd goes against the roller. That's
Yeah. So it's
Wait,
a very
why do they always show in the
It's like a
movies that
street
the crowd
fight.
like gets excited?
because
when
that's
the-
everybody's on the same side. They're all
Oh,
like, oh
yeah,
yeah,
it's all
that's-
fake.
yeah.
Movies are fake. It's been proven now.
Bet on the other side. Yeah. They call it
Yeah,
the dark
so-
side.
If we look at the random system is an instantiatable class. We have to instantiate it in order to use it. Math, on the other hand, is a static class. So we can actually use the method via static. So we have static random. So with this system, we don't have to instantiate. If we go here and we look at the get items, what am I looking for? Public random, and then we want to get a number. We have to do not set, next. So next, as you can see here, is not static. So next item, next bytes, next int, which is what we'd want. It's not a static item. The method is not static. So if we want that, we'd have to initialize this class. Whereas the method here to get random is static. We've learned that static don't need to be instantiated. Static methods are methods that can be used from the class directly, where non-static methods have to be an instantiated item. So this is good. I'm actually really happy that someone didn't actually realize that was at the top of this, because I was trying to figure out how I was going to bring math random up. But this is what you want to keep in mind, remember and keep in mind. Static, don't need to instantiate. Not static, instantiate. And so again, good double check on this item. Really cool to know this and really useful to have. So let's go back. Actually, keep that there for a second. Yeah, let's go back for a second. Let's do this. We'll do random. What's it yelling at me for? All right, what does it return?
Double. I mean, yeah, double.
It returns a double.
Yeah,
We
so
want an
you need
int,
it.
so
And then, yeah,
typecast it. Typecast the thing.
typecast.
What's this telling me now? Not the random cast int is always rounded down to 0. What? Why is that?
You need to multiply math.random by something.
Ah, right, because if we actually take a
Because
look
it
at it,
generates between 0 and 1.
Yeah.
just to
Yes,
confirm our
it'll always
thoughts.
be 0.
So we do our thoughts here. We just check it quick. Just take a look at this. We can see it's always 0 dot and then some number.
Yeah.
It's a number. Math.random gives us a random number between 0.0 and 1.0. So we never get a whole number, and ints only care about whole numbers. And since ints ignore decimals, we always get a 0. It will not round up for us. It will not round down. So we do have to do something to make sure we get those numbers. So
And you do want to wrap that in parentheses because it tries to cast it before the multiplication. If you don't,
what's that?
you do want to wrap it in parentheses because I think
Okay.
it tries to cast before you do the multiplication.
That's why I was.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Hold on, we're gonna get to that. Sorry. Yeah, we want to cast the result. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. So we'll do that in a second. Yeah, we want to make sure we cast. Again, it was actually good that you knew that, but before you get that, so if we want a number, what do we get? And again, if you would have read deeper onto this, there are tons of examples on how to get it. As some people already know, we multiply for what's called our max. What value do we want? Our max value. What max value do we want?
Number of sides.
Good.
Oh, right.
I heard someone say 6 and then Keith got it right. He
Yeah.
said the value, the variable. Guys, keep it dynamic. Good,
That's
good, good, good.
object oriented, man.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
keep
it should
doing-
be +1 as well, because you don't want 0 to be a result.
We're gonna get to that. Yep. So this is max, but note that max is not inclusive. So I do want to be very much aware of that. It's uninclusive. So if we do a copy here, not there, do this first.
Wait, what? What's uninclusive?
The max value, so 6. We will actually not get 6. We'll get
It
everything.
won't include 6.
We'll get up to like 5.999999.
Oh,
We will
yeah,
not actually
yeah.
get 6.
Yeah.
We will
So in
never
that case, should
actually
we
hit
be
6.
rounding it before casting it or no?
Hold on, I got what I do.
That needs
Oh,
to be
right.
die dot number of sides, right?
Oh yeah, thank you. I can do that.
Or a lowercase d.
I was like, why is it not doing that? Thank you. So we do that. We can see. Yep, we actually get the 5.6. Yeah, we'll never actually get 6. That's something that's very good to know. So yeah, you put the max value, but you put max uninclusive. It'll go to everything up to and just barely touch it, but not become 6. Which, yeah, if we round, it's okay, but that means we also can get as low as 0 still. We can still get a 0. And does our die have zeros?
No.
No. Our die has what? And so the other item is the min. So we do this, take this, that. We get our do that item, and then the result of that, we add min. And that'll get us from 1 up to and not including what now? Just to be clear though.
Not including 6.
Wait, what's the question?
So what is the range we're gonna get here? This item here. So min, or 1 in this case.
Yeah.
What's that gonna
Oh,
give us? 'Cause we were originally
one
at
through
1,
six.
we were at 1, 0, we were at 0.0 up to, but not including, yeah, less than 6.0. We could not get our 6.0. We could not touch that 6.0.
No, we couldn't.
So we add 1 to that result. What's our new inclusive range?
1.0 to 7.0.
Not equal to 7.0. So what should we do to our numbers to make sure we get our 1 to 6 though?
Round down.
Round down, which means we're not rounding though, are we?
We're getting the, what is
mathematical
it,
term for
the
that?
floor?
Ceiling?
Floor.
Well, aren't they already
Or-
truncated
or
because we're
it
casting them as an integer?
Yeah,
That
that's
is
what I
correct.
thought.
Nothing automatic.
Good. I was wondering what I was going to get. I did also want to hear the math, like floor math, like all those things. I was curious on that to see what I was going to get. And also to keep in mind, remember, ceiling, you look up. So which way do you
Yeah.
go? That's going to bring you up to 7 or up to the next number.
But I did it with
Floor is
ceiling
down.
without having to use
Yes.
a 1.
Well, yeah, if you didn't do this, I'm showing the general
Yeah.
sense for random. Sorry.
Isn't,
Yeah, the
isn't
math.random
and
formula
floor
is
the
what
same?
I'm trying to teach. Probably should have prefixed that. I'm teaching the math.random formula. The math.random formula. Math.random. Yeah. Got the parentheses, dang it. Max value. Plus min. And just in case, for math.floor. If you want it to be within a certain range, you can also do math.round. Round
Yeah.
is, hold on, I'm going to add some items here. So I'm going to give the random, equal that, and then inclusive. You do random, sorry. Max inclusive is math.random on the result. Round, sorry. Max exclusive. What am I trying to say? Because I'm trying to say, if you do the round, you're going to get the 1 to 7. So if you do this, if you do math.round, you're going to get, you actually get max value plus min. So always be aware of that. So sometimes you'll also get this as well. Max value minus min. Right, that's the other, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. if we weren't doing the int value or the floor, then yes, you would do max value minus min plus min. And that'll get you, for example, like if we wanted the numbers between 3 and 10, for example, let's say we want the numbers between 3 and 10. We would do, first we would try to get the times 10, right? Oh, come on, before I do that, let's do this. Instead of doing it here, let's do it in main so I can actually run this.
That's the point.
Yeah. I want the numbers 3.0. I want 3 to 10. And I want 10 inclusive. So I want to be able to get 3 through 10. I want the number 3 and 10 to also possibly show up on math.random. If I do math.random times 10, that gets me what? What's my current range now?
0 through 9.
0. Yeah, to
0 to less than 10.0. I will not actually
Yeah.
get 10. So with
You
this,
can't
I
get
will want it. Yeah. If I wanted to include 10, I could round.
Yeah.
Rounding would then give me 10. So rounding makes it through that. So now I get both. So I can get that 0 to 10. But without the rounding, I'm gonna get less than 10. But now if I want the 3, well, if I add the plus 3 here, what happens to my range?
Goes from 3 to 13.
Yep.
And look what happens. I get a change to less than 13.0. That doesn't work. So what you do here is I do 10 minus 3, which turns my max into what?
7.
7. So this becomes 0 to 7. And that becomes 3, 2. And 10. And there's your formula. Again, uninclusive unless we do the math.round. Math.round would actually help us with this. Make sure it's all inclusive. Just going to round everything. So now I can see if I run it, we got 4. I'm just going to do this. Dang it, I didn't have that at all. You can do lines. It's fine. We can see we're getting all those numbers between 3 and 7. Haven't gotten a 3
A lot
yet,
of
though.
7s.
Yeah, I got really lucky on that. Let's try one more time. I want to see if I make sure I
7
get a
out.
3.
That's good for craps, right?
Yeah. Well, depends on what side.
I haven't gotten a 3 yet. I'm getting concerned. Am I not going to get a 3? Thought I would. There it is. Okay. Wow. And then I got 3 3s. I did 3 runs of the app and couldn't get a 3, and then I got 3s. Figure that out. Anyway, and I got our 10. So I got our min and our max that I wanted to see. So I got our min and max, and that guarantees I'm going to get anything between. All that. So again, yeah, our formula is math.random times max minus min plus min. So we could, if we really want to, we could also just do this minus 1 if we want to, and then do the math.round. But when you're dealing with a 0 with a starting value that's kind of low, and you already checked it with your numbers, we know we're going to get 1.0 and not inclusive of 7, of less than 7. We know we're going to get between 1 and 6 if we just use the integer system, right? We just lop off the integer of the result, we'll get what we want. The last thing I want to do here is I want to make sure that this typecasting here triggers on the results of this. So I want it to trigger on the result of all this. I don't want it to trigger at the end. So I'm going to do this quick and add that in. There's our new face-up value. Any questions on that thing?
Can you hold on that for just 1 second?
Yeah.
Of course.
there's
Take a second.
Yeah, I need to hold on that one. Okay. Can we face it? That's not random.
You just can't return that. Oh, yeah, you just can't return
Why?
that.
Okay, I get the math.random part, but why the +1?
Because we don't want 0. Remember? The die can't be 0, right?
So I'm shaking. So +1 just means like just random probability plus whatever it lands on.
No, well, kind of. So again, math.random gives us a number between 0 and up to, but not including the max value. So 0 up to, but not including our 6 that we put here. This is going to give me 0.0 up to 5.9999999.
Okay,
What are the values of a die?
6. Well, 1 through 6.
Right, well, that doesn't sound right though. 1, 0 through 5.9999 isn't the values of my die, is it?
It isn't.
But if I add 1 to that result, I get a range of 1 up to 6.999999. Right? And that has the numbers I'm looking for.
So what if you get a 6.76? What we
Oh.
round to?
What does the int do? When we typecast a decimal to an int, what happens?
It goes up. It rounds up.
No, it
Well,
doesn't. Ints don't
lobs it
recognize decimals. What was that? Say it again?
Just lobs it off.
Yeah, right. It lobs
So
it off.
at 6.
Ints can't recognize ints do not recognize decimals. They don't exist.
And that's why you're the teacher, Cliff.
Think of an integer as an atheist. They say gods don't exist. So we can't base our actions on God. That's how ints work. Ints are like, no. They don't care. So they don't even pay attention to it. Like, I'm not gonna act in a certain way. Decimals are fake. Fake news. No, go away. And I've killed Matt.
Whew, getting hot in here.
Can you just, is it possible just removing the variable?
Why did we do
and
that?
returning that?
Let Jim ask his question first. What was that, Jim? Ask again.
Is it possible removing the variables and just returning the statement?
Yes, if we didn't want to save it in the parameter, we would just return it, but we are also saving it here. We do also want to update our parameter, our field. And so this is where we get into that discussion that we want to talk about. Well, first off, let's make sure this works. Before we get into the discussion, let's make sure this works. So we can actually do all this fun stuff. And do die.roll. We'll roll it once. Let's see if it works.
Comes out with a 10.
I would love that. Okay, we got a 4. So let's run this a couple times, make sure we get the same thing. There you go. Got a bunch of rolls now.
Yay.
What a low number.
Jesus Christ. My luck,
How's that
weird
possible?
today.
You sure there's something not wrong with your math?
Time to wonder.
Seriously.
You got
Bunch of
5.
fives
Hey, you
and
got a
ones.
5.
I got a 5. Let's see. Can I get my game 6? There it is.
Get your CPU temperature a little higher.
This randomizer being a pain in my butt today. Usually when I put that many in, I usually at least get one of the low and the high. Jesus.
Yeah.
Which made me look like an idiot. So for the testing purposes, the returning was really nice. By returning it, we can just do die.roll and print it. But now I guess the question is though, when we roll a die, who actually says what the value is? Did the die tell us its value, or what happens? You have to look at it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the member variable.
And then let's say you are moving a little bit forward in the game, and let's say you roll your dice, you looked at them, and then you started talking to a friend like, oh wait, what was my die again? What happens? Can you just say, hey, what's the die value? Or do you have to look again, right? Or you have to roll again to get that die value. You can just access the property, right? You just observe the properties. After rolling, the roll doesn't tell us the value, right? We have to observe the result of the roll, right?
Yeah.
Like I can roll it off to the side and never look and never know what the value is, right? I can roll the die, throw it over to the side,
Yep,
it can fall off my
never
desk
see.
under the couch, and who knows what value it hit? It's unknown. It's Schrodinger's die, right? Until we observe that value, we don't know what it is. And again, this is one of those things, though, in computer science, this is something we can scoff at, we can laugh at. We can say, you know what? I don't care, though. Go ahead and have the die yell its value whenever it lands. That is something we can do. So this is definitely allowed. However, at the same point, we can just do void here and say, you know what? Whenever we roll, just set the value. But if someone wants to view it, if someone wants to know what the result of roll is, they have to observe the value. They have to ask for face-up value. Does that make sense? So either way is valid. And I want to make sure that's very, very clear. If you did an int one, that's good. That's fine. It's entirely plausible in the realm of the digital world. In the digital world, a die can roll and yell its name and yell its value. It's totally allowed to do that. So don't feel like, oh, I did that. Who cares?
Can you show how we would call with how
Yes.
that would work with the
I'm gonna observe it now.
Yeah.
So in this case, what I would do is I would just call it die.roll here. And again, until I observe it, I don't know the result of die.roll. Roll does it does its thing, and goes away, moves on. Then I can do die dot
Face of value.
face of value.
Oh, it has to be called basically.
I have to look at the die now. And so that's me doing the option, the action of looking at the die.
I forget.
So you don't do return?
You don't have to. Again, it's really up to the developer what they want to do. This is a little cleaner, and that's what I want to show you guys, that really the roll method is just in charge of that, just rolling the die, just generating an error and a number. It's not really in charge of giving the number. But again, with the digital world, we can break those rules. That's not a rule we have to follow. So if you wrote if anyone in class, and I'm sure several of you did, because it's something I see a lot, if you wrote public int roll and actually return the value, that's fine.
That's what
Completely valid.
I'm changing it now.
Go for it.
But you have to ask though, if you do the return value, how you're going to get that value back when you're going through your rest of your code.
Well, if we did it the way you were asking about, so I go back quick and I did what you said, and we decided to do switch back there and decided to be like, oh, I don't need to save this. I can just do that here in the return value. Well, then yeah, if I don't have that, well, now if I lose track of that value, there's no way for me to get it again because I no longer have it set here. And so I wouldn't be able to access again. So once I roll it, it's me like rolling the die, it yells its value and then disappears. It gets Thanos.
Yeah, it kind of loses its state, right?
Right. It says what it is and then goes away. And for me to get another value, I'd have to roll again. I can't look at the die again because that value no longer exists. So that would be the downside here. If I don't keep track of that value, it's lost. Where in this case, the value of the die is persistent. Why did I keep going? Okay, I typed over it. Dang it. That, for that.
Wait.
So in this case, we set the value and it's persistent because again, we replicate the real world. This is us rolling the die. It's something gets a value, and unless someone rolls it again, that value is permanent. Interesting stuff, right? And like I said, I will 100% stand by it, no matter what anyone ever says to you. Public int roll is a valid implementation. I just like to show people other implementations, and for me, I really do strive to try to get my code to mimic the real world as close as possible. And so, and I like to keep my methods really, really small. I like this one-liner. My methods, I try to keep them as small as I can. But sometimes it can be nice to roll it and have it give you the value at the same time, so you can use it. And then, yeah, if you need it again later, you can always look at it again later. So, is that return face value is probably this bit of code here is totally reasonable and functional. It has that ability that if you want to get the value at the end of the roll, you can use it. Anyway.
The Yahtzee game that we played online, would you say that returned the value after the roll?
There's no way for me to actually be able to tell for sure, because when it's doing the roll method, it's doing this. It hit this item, and that also triggered the animation. As soon as, but I can guarantee before the animation finished, it knew the result of the roll. And so it then waited for a couple seconds to let an animation for our human eyes to be happy and be pleasing. And then at some point, it just showed the value. Now, whether or not it stored the value of the roll and then showed at the end, or accessed the value property after the roll, I can't say for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no guarantee on that, because I can do it either way and still show a spinning animation. So. I can't remember how to do weights on this this thing, but it's fine. We're not going to do that. We're not going to get into weighting on threads and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into animation. So yeah, anyway, so we got that. Face of value.
You to sleep.
What's that? I know. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to try to get into animation. We're doing good. We're already getting at 18.
I have a quick question, just something.
Go for it.
So my original thought process before doing the int math.random, the formula that you have, was doing math.round, math.sealed, math.random times the number of sides. Is that frowned upon?
Not
because I don't have to put in a plus.
No. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's frowned upon inherently. It'd be like, mostly just people look at it like, okay, that's just probably one of the less efficient one, because you're running multiple methods. That's all. It wouldn't be frowned upon now. it works. And math and those two methods you mentioned aren't that resource intensive. So while yes, less effective than mine or less efficient, I would say, because you're running more computations, they're small computations, so would be a big deal. Most likely you would just, one of your coworkers would be like, oh, by the way, you don't need this, you can just do this instead.
Which method did you think was easier?
What's that?
Which one do you think was? I know you're talking about clean code and always trying to cut down. When I'm looking at the first one we had, when we declared and had to return, or this one, what would you say is cleaner?
Huh?
Because this one we gotta go. It's like the barriers of entry. We gotta go die.roll and system out that print die.face of value, or would it be die.
So for me, the term roll doesn't explicitly say it's going to give me a number. Like there's nothing about the phrase roll that guarantees it's going to give me something. That's just, I'm picturing in my head just a roll. So, and that doesn't, like, usually a method name that's going to give you something back will usually hint at that you're going to get something back. It's usually very obvious, hey, I'm going to get something from this. Roll to me intuitively doesn't guarantee a value or what that value is going to be. And so for me, I personally, again, as a developer that's a little more seasoned, this feels cleaner to me because at least I'm not having any sort of weird side effects. I'm not sending numbers out that might not get captured. If that makes sense. So for me, I do feel this one's cleaner because, again, yeah, if the person wants the value, they can go get it. They can access it. So you want a value, get the value. If you want to do an action, do the action. Unless that action is to get something, don't give something. For me, it's very much the clean coding that still follows something called a strict principle, and it also follows another rule called separation of concern. And that's something we're going to talk about soon more as well as we get to more advanced topics. The concept of separation of concern is very much part of that concept of abstraction. Separation of concern says that every method does one thing and one thing only. It does its task and nothing else. It doesn't care about anything else. And so the roll method does just that. It rolls the die. It doesn't care about giving you the value or what you do with the value. It just says, hey, I'm going to roll this dice and set the value. And so it does just what it's supposed to do. That makes sense? And so a lot of companies do follow that concept of separation of concern. That way it's a good following. Maybe people can follow it pretty easily. That answer the question? Good, Titus? Oh, you asked the question. Just asking that good.
I think I'm starting to understand stuff, which is scary.
Hey, that's a good thing, actually. Not scary. Don't be afraid. Accept it. Enjoy it.
You're muted, Titus. I don't know if you're saying anything.
I don't have anything to say, guys. Okay.
I was just saying, you asked the question. I was just saying, was that good answer? Did that answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
Okay, good.
I thought it was a good answer.
Okay, good. I was like, just to make sure that the answer makes sense, that you get it. That's all. Cool. All right, so die class, not that complicated, but yet still there's a good amount of underworking in there and a good amount of decision-making process. So as you get better, you'll get better at these items, but even simple items, there's a good amount of discussion you can have.
I have the die class we made.
My mic has been off the whole time.
Yeah, the one we had when we made earlier, and this was so much more complex and into it, the way you're teaching it now compared to how you.
I've been talking into the ether.
Oh no!
How long have you been asking questions?
You think I feel horrible. You think I've been ignoring you. That's the worst part for me.
No, I haven't asked any questions up until now.
I guess you've been making jokes and all of us been ignoring you.
Yeah.
His best material has fallen on deaf ears.
No.
I don't know what the hell is that. I'm looking at my mixer there, and it's like the light is not lighting up when I'm talking, and I'm like, oh shit.
Mixer.
Wait, you have a mixer?
Everyone's like, yeah.
Not the mixer, whatever the hell this is called.
He's at his streaming
DJ Sergio.
Not the mixer. What the hell is this called? The interface. The sound interface. Yeah.
Oh, the microphone on the
interface,
Zoom thing at the bottom.
mixer,
Okay.
Yeah. This is how little I know about.
I think he has an actual board. Have you seen his mic?
He's got his streamer set up.
Yeah, he has a whole.
It's a Neve.
Cool.
What I was asking is like, how did you? Because I'm calling the multiple lines to like the face of value. I'm calling it multiple times so I can get like lines with different numbers. But for some reason, mine is just showing the same number.
Yeah, let's see. Mine's gonna probably do the same thing because what is face up value? What is that?
Save value of the roll.
Yeah,
It's
the
just
same
it's just the face of value, right? If you roll a die and you look at it, it's gonna have a number. Now, if you look at it again, is the number gonna change?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No, right? How do you change the number on the die?
Gotta call the method again.
Well, in the real world, we can say real world first.
Oh.
So Sergio, if I want
You
to,
would roll the dice again.
right? Well, have we done that yet?
Oh, I see. No. I
You
see.
got it,
I see.
Fox.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. I'm
We
doing.
have to roll the die again to get a new value.
Yep.
This is no return. Yep.
I was waiting for it to do the same number. I was like, this is gonna do the same number on me again.
Oh, that'd be great.
I was ready for it. I was like, don't do it, don't do it.
Your methods do not work.
I was ready for that. I was like, this thing's gonna make me look like a
Okay, there we go. Okay,
There we go. Yep.
And I was like, okay, am I missing something here? And yeah, I was rolling the dice.
Hey, the good news, your code is fine. And that's one of the things I'm taking in mind, but I always like to do as well. Whenever you ask a question and yeah, they point out like, oh, you just misunderstood it. Take solace in fact knowing your code was right though. Yeah, you did. It didn't run the way you thought it was going to run, but at least you knew that your code was good. So now you have a die. So what I want to do quick first is just kind of work with the scanner a little bit today and kind of showcase how that works. I want to talk about the scanner just a little bit.
Hell yeah, I love the scanner.
Cool, you've been playing with it. Nice. So how do we use the scanner then, Sergio? What do we need to do?
So we need to call capital S scanner, and then scanner, new scanner, and that's going to import the scanner class.
You have to import it.
Actually, the parentheses you have to give it a
Sys-in, right?
Yeah, system in. You
That's
have to-
where we're scanning from. Yes, system.in, which makes sense, right? That's the opposite of what we've been printing out to, right? Using the system out, and everyone should know about this. What's there should be a concept for system.in and system out that really hits with you. Why?
It's a class.
Wait, say that again.
So as a computer scientist, that concept of in and out, that should mean something to you, right? Why?
You're going to give your program something to do, and it needs to have some data to work with. And then at the end of everything, you want to have some sort of result.
If you think about it, what's the core basis of an algorithm?
Input, output.
Right. It's a set of instructions that take an input and produce an output, right? We love inputs and outputs. I/O, it's our thing. I/Os are our thing. So, got it. So let's say I want to ask someone for their name. What could I do?
So
system
you want to print a line that's
A prompt first, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
And then what do I do to get that?
IntelliJ, what do you
So you need to do. I know this.
Name.
Let Sergio do it. He says he's got this. Sorry. Let him have his moment.
So you need to do scan dot, and then that'll give you whatever the different methods that that the scan class has.
Yep.
So right now you want the next line, I believe, is the best one because that way you can get both first and last name. It will recognize the spaces, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. All right. What do I do with this though? I'm getting the next line, but what's happening to it right now?
Oh yeah, you need to assign it. Initialize it.
Wait, what's it saved to? What data type does this return? Take a guess. What data type would you think it would return?
A string?
Yeah. You can just do input as a common one to get it.
Input.
Leave this out.
Yeah, I'll do that and have a couple questions after that.
Yep. See if that works. Looking good. Want to test something quick? Let's do this quick. What's your name? We'll get the name. We'll get first name, and we'll also do this out. Not wout. same method. Oh,
That much should be
no.
input.
Yeah, I was gonna change it. Like, no, people might not catch me changing the variables. I'm not gonna do that. So, got that. Let's see what happens. So, whose name am I putting in this time?
James Bond.
Subtle.
Oh, geez.
Well, I saw.
You didn't see that coming?
I saw.
I mean, I was like looking at your code and I'm like, this is going somewhere. I just don't know where, but it's going somewhere.
I always love the moment when people realize, like, oh, wait a minute, he's being funny. And that's a funny with a heavy, like, funny.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. So one thing I want to make sure people are very aware of. So there's another one we can do next. So I did next line, and then there's also next, what is it? Get things like next int, or what is the other one? That was
There's just next, right? Just
next, that was it, right, next.
The MTV, dating show.
There it is. Wow, I forgot about that one. That is a show. Holy crap. I hit play on that.
Yeah,
Let's see if this
That's what
behaves
we've
any
been
different.
missing from Sergio this whole time.
Yeah, and it will go.
I'll turn the microphone off. Okay, all right. There
Poor
you go.
Sergio. So it seems to work the same way. Now there is a slight difference to it, and it has to do with the enter key. And so that's something to be aware of. And there's also the enter, what's the word I'm looking for, the new line character. I believe the one, oh, I can't remember. Wait, I'm drawing a blank now because I didn't follow. I had Sergio do it, not me follow my notes. One of these does include the new line character and one will not. One will actually take that new line character and have it be part of the input. Luckily for us, the system was able to know what we were doing with it and didn't actually use it, which is great because I was expecting one of these to put on a new line, but it didn't. But something that's going to happen is that you'll hit enter and then you'll see an enter line. You have to hit enter a second time on one of these. So do notice that if you're going through this exercise with the scanner, if you're hitting enter on your feedback and then you have to hit enter a second time, switch from whatever one you're using. I got to go back to my notes now and double check. I'll have to get back on that one. And now my brain just lost it. But one of these is annoying.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
It's next line because if you do too many next lines, you'll input, hit enter, input, hit enter, input, hit enter. And then like the fourth input, you won't be able to type anything because it just automatically throws an enter in there and then it like will continue on.
Yeah.
So
9 times 10,
like
you use
next.
Yeah.
You'll,
Okay, good. So it's next you want to use. I thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Next line is like what it's like a couple of entrants, but you'll learn it as you go along. When you use it, you'll get it into a habit of like, oh, okay, well, oh, it must be that. So just be aware of it.
Don't you need the next line though if you're scanning an int?
Again, so
no, it's only next line. It's only next line strings. All of them are all next int, next double. Next like this. It's the only one that has a line is the string.
Then we're gonna get the age, and if we want to do mathematics on that, we're gonna use int.
You can actually use a byte for that, can't you? Because age only
Could,
goes so
but
high.
again, not too worried about it. What do we have here? We have int, byte, short. And also be aware of this cool thing right here we have available. Just so you know, we have overloads for these called radix. Does anyone know what that actually means?
I remember that from math. I just don't remember.
Anyone remember what the radix stood for?
Just change the base.
It refers to the base, yes. So you could actually enter binary numbers and get back the decimal value of that. So you can say get next int and tell it the base of the int that's coming in, what number is coming in. So you could say, hey, if we know we're about to get a hexadecimal number for color, and our system that we implemented doesn't accept hexadecimal and needs binary and needs actual decimal, we could accept that number in and actually be able to understand it as actual value, be able to read the hexadecimal value correctly. Because if you just do next int and you type a hexadecimal number, it's not going to know what it is because there's going to be letters in that. Remember, you have your zeros, all zero black and all F white. That's your hexadecimal.
How come it doesn't say hex then?
No, we would just do, hey, that's 16, right? Yeah. Yeah. If you type in 16, oh, not there. 16. Hexadecimal is a 16.
Oh, okay,
Right.
yep.
Yeah, you just give it the, you're saying that the number you're about to read is in base 16.
Yeah,
Base-
Not,
if you-
Jesus.
If it was a,
do like base 8.
oh, if it was a 1, if it would be just binary?
2 would be binary.
2, yeah, 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 is binary. I don't think they actually do an unary on the system. Maybe, I have no idea. I don't know what the computer does as unary. Because we know that the
Unary.
unary is the tick marks, but I don't actually know if the computer does that.
Maybe
Default is
base
10.
8 if you wanted to, base 16.
Yeah, 8 is another common one.
Yeah, it's
Octo-
all different logarithm scales to just make it easier to explain different types of stuff in mathematics and science.
And there are some algorithms that like to mess with those numbers. So there are some ones that say, hey, turn this into binary and then turn it back to decimal or whatever, or read these binary numbers in. So you'll get some on HackerRank that asks about that. And so it's good to know that you do have that radix system. So it's just nice. It's a nice little cool little feature. Yeah. I thought it was fascinating when I first found it. It's like, yeah, that's cool.
I got
Next
a quick
int.
question, probably
Shoot.
nothing, not really. I don't know.
Go for it.
But system.out.println. So system is a class, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dot out, the out is a field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then how do you go from a field to another method?
Well, again, the field could be what? What can fields be? They can be primitive types, right? Like
And they
int,
can also
string.
be
What can they
classes.
also be?
Classes?
They can also be classes themselves, right?
Confusing to me because I can't visually see it in a.
So again,
like-
right. So it's similar to how we had in God dang it.
The engine inside of the vehicle.
Right, the engine. If you wanted to do,
Relationships.
if you wanted to turn on the engine, you could have done car.engine.turn-on.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
same
Sergio,
concept.
you and I just did that a couple hours ago.
So what
Huh?
happens though is that this it's because it's a composition field. Again, it's field. It is smaller case, and because this technically isn't static. This thing here is a little dynamic. It gets created whenever you run the program. That's why for me it uses my terminal, but for you Windows people it uses your command prompt. So understand the out is different for each system. It's static once it's created, but it is different for each system. So that's why they use the small character O. So it is,
And you said
there is
once
a
you-
output class, but yeah.
So you said once you hit, like you run your application, that's when the out gets initialized?
Yep. Yeah, it gets passed to the Java, the JRE, the Java runtime environment. The JRE identifies what the out is. Yep.
Not to split hairs, but strings aren't primitive types.
No, they're not. That's why it's capital S.
Yeah,
Did I say string was primitive?
yeah.
Dang it. I listed one of those. Dang it. Didn't mean to list that one. Yeah. Yeah, if it's a small character. If it's small like this, then it's a primitive. But yeah, this one is not primitive. Nice catch on that. I didn't realize I said string.
Yeah, because I've been refreshing all this stuff since.
I can see that. Yeah,
Uh,
it's good.
Yeah, it's the way I remember is just basically numbers are all primitives, and then you have your characters, which are primitives. And I just recently learned that you can actually iterate through the whole alphabet if you want to, which is really cool when you're
yeah.
using the scanner and you want to assign variables to different strings. And
Yeah. Well, yeah, char is actually recognized by the computer as a number. That's what's really fascinating about it. We won't go too deep into that, but yeah, character, the small CHAR, like that. When you type the character A with the single quotes,
That pulling the
This?
ASCII of that?
yeah, it pulls the
Yeah.
ASCII value. It doesn't actually look at it like the A, like you and me see. It actually sees the numerical value.
Well,
numerical
no,
value.
to tell you the truth, if
So-
you use it as a char, then then it'll output the A, but if you use it as
It's
an
just-
int, yeah, if you use it as an int, the char is int, then it becomes the ASCII character.
you actually want to be thinking more as Unicode than not ASCII, because ASCII is more of like a
Take a look at that.
of Unicode.
Why is that not yelling at me? I just added an int to a letter.
You said it treats it like a number, right?
Right, yep. And this is me proving it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but the ASCII number is what it comes back as.
So even
Yeah.
though the system
So,
recognizes it as A, I can treat it. But why do you put it as a number? So yeah, the number A is 97, by the way. but I guess I have to recharacterize it back to a char. I cast it back to char if I want to see the result of that, like I want. I cast that back to a char. There we go.
So cool.
So you can actually treat a char as a number in a way. So very cool stuff.
That is so interesting.
Pretty interesting.
Hey, yeah. There's some really good challenges
double.
out there to create the Caesar cipher, which is, yeah, like we said before, the shift by each letter by X numbers. So it's a really cool exercise, and it has to do with using chars. So you can
I
then,
think Free Code Camp had a project.
yeah, I think they did have one.
Yeah,
Yep, they
they
had
did
it
that.
once,
JavaScript.
and CS50 did it too. So it's a real fun challenge one. It's really fun to do. But so yeah, so now we can see, yeah. So let's get the age, by the way. We've been getting around that. So we got the age. If I just want to show an interesting. Let's do this. If it's gonna be evil, but you know what? Nah, let's not do that.
It's greater than 18. Ooh la la.
Oh. Well, I was actually gonna do. I was gonna put a swear there and then put the asterisks if you're under 18, but I'm like, no, let's not put that on the video. Ooh la la, really?
Jeff, ooh,
All right, let's go for it.
old school.
What's the if they're under 18 then, or 18?
La la ooh.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to jail.
Run away.
Oh, yeah.
Go to jail.
While away. While away. While away.
Oh no.
We are getting.
Where's
You
the
can tell it getting a little late. People are losing their mind. Else go to jail. There. Yep, done. What we can do? Here we go.
I don't know why I thought about Monopoly immediately after you said that.
There you go. We'll go straight up meme them. FBI, open up.
There we go.
I got Emilio's. Here we go. Go to jail. There we
One of
go.
us.
One of us.
Chris Hansen's
Straight
calling.
Chris Hansen, take a seat.
Chris Hansen. Oh my God. Is that show
He's
still on?
doing-
No.
Not the
Get
same
off.
one. He's still doing the predator catching stuff. I think he has his own show now, actually.
Yeah,
Confronting a predator,
well,
I think it's called.
He just had to turn himself into the police, so he's in his own trouble right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the guy's probably is a predator.
Yeah, he forgot to. Oh no, he forgot to give documents for one of the people he caught. There was apparently a subpoena for him to send in documents. It didn't get to him, so he never sent the documents in. So there was a warrant out for his arrest. He got
Awesome.
yeah.
He walks into a
So-
situation.
Yeah, so he literally was like,
They're like, what are
"Found
we
out there's a
doing here,
warrant,
Chris?
so I'm here to get the paperwork." And yeah, because of course the headlines didn't hint at that at all. They're like, he goes to jail, and everyone's like, "Oh, look, he's probably a pedophile too." And then they realize, like, that's it. It's like, why do we have to sensationalize that? Clickbait.
Well, because I'm pretty sure he lost his first show too, because one of the people that were accused, or they like took their own life or something after they got
Yeah,
caught on the show.
He was it was a Texas state official
Yeah.
from like the next county
Oh,
over.
go figure.
So sad. A pedophile lost his life. I know. Sorry. No sympathy
Unofficial.
there. Sorry.
Is it
I know we got to be all
priest?
PR and stuff like that, but I'm sorry. Pedophiles, no. Nope. No sympathy for me.
It's a good thing this video is going to be unlisted.
Yes. No
Seriously.
sympathy for me. No sympathy for me for there.
Chris Hansen just logged in.
They get no sympathy for me. If you do that stuff, go away.
It's really bad.
I knew it.
Epstein.
There you go.
Go to jail.
So it works.
Hello. Yes, go to jail.
It works. I do like that. Hello, I'm Hanson, Chris Hansen. I forgot I commented it out after I hit the run button, so I still ran that stuff. I do like that. That works great.
Oh.
That actually worked great. I like that I ran that before I commented it, because now it says, hello, I'm Hanson, Chris Hansen, go to jail. It doesn't even care about the age thing.
Wait, so
Uh,
Hansen is 15?
no, he's not.
Okay. But I was gonna say, because like the way that it reads there is like,
Yeah.
okay,
I
Chris
entered.
Hansen's 15,
I entered
go to
15.
jail. All right.
I entered 15 just so they would trigger the go to jail line. So I did want to show. Actually, what time we got? Yeah, screw it. Let's do it. I want to show a quick little fun thing here. So if you have a simple if else with the same, with the actions the same here, we can use another system. And I just want to show this because it's a little fancy. Don't worry about learning it perfectly yet, but it's something we can get into deeper. It's called a ternary expression. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I
good.
also used it. Yeah, it's
S out.
cool.
Age greater than 18. Because you want the result is what we're going to get in here. So we do that. And we start with a question mark. Because the thing on the left is the question that we're asking. So you can read it as is age greater than 18. And the first item is your yes. So we're going to do colon is the or. In the other case, else, you can also say, and paste, go to jail.
Get rid of that
We
garbage.
don't need that anymore. And so this is how this can work. We ask a question and we return this a value. So then we'll let him go. We'll be fine. We'll be nice to him. There we go. That reads great.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, just
That
one
comes
line.
out amazing.
One
Ooh la
line.
la to Chris Hansen. There we go. So this is a ternary expression. It's really useful for keeping things simple and clean. You can also use it with the return statements. You can return, conditional, return result, return result. So very, very useful tool. And mainly if you ever see a very simple if else, if something else this, and the actions you're going to perform in the two sides are the same action. And again, single action. So in an if else, if the action you're going to perform is the same action in both sections, but just a different behavior for those two actions, it's 9 times out of 10, you can turn that into a ternary. I will say be careful with ternaries. They are not considered very clean. They are not the most legible item in the world. So do be aware of that. They can be really nice and fun to use in an interview because they can be a little show-offy, but at the same time, just be aware and recognize that they are not the most legible items. So just be smart where you use them. Make sure they make sense. Sound good? They are very fancy. I do like
You know,
them.
it's funny you say that, but Mosh is like, if you use the
He
if
loves
else, if you use the if else, that's very rudimentary, and you
Well,
are.
Yeah.
Mosh
Again, that's why I like to
also-
show this. I do like to show this because it can be very, very cool to be able to pull that off in an interview. It is a great show. It does show a level of skill. I just want to make sure that you do, if they do bring it up, like, oh, I see you use the ternary. I'm like, yeah, no, I thought it looked nice there. I don't know if I'd use it all the time because
It's
it is
weird
the most
'cause
legible.
Mosh is so against using the other way.
Again, it's
The
based on the
FLCC.
company.
I think he was just against the curly braces. If
Probably.
you could
Yeah,
not
that
have
drives
them,
me
then-
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah, I
true.
forget he does that.
I have an aneurysm
Look, I
every
noticed
time.
with the ternary operator, you don't have to do system.out. It just
No,
knows
because
that
we
you're doing
do a single
system.out.
system out. Yep. It'd be the same thing if we were returning
Oh, right.
something.
Oh, yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
yeah, we do the same action on both. We only need to print the action once. So same thing we did a if something return this, else return that. Same thing, we do return ternary expression. So that's really where the behavior comes into play. The action comes first and then the ternary inside or outside or around the action with the action. So it's a really cool, useful tool to use. And I really like showing it off because again, if it is something you can become familiar with, that can look really good in an interview. Is it something you have to become good with? I'm going to say 100% no. Again, it's not really appreciated for clean code. There are spots that it looks good on and is legible, but there are some spots that it can become really ugly looking, depending on what you're doing. So just keep that in the back of your mind and base it on what the company likes. If the company doesn't like ternary, hiccup. If the company doesn't like ternary expressions, do not use them. But definitely feel free to show off.
I've seen calculations be done in a ternary operator, and you can't. It's hard to know what's going on.
Exactly, they can be a little hard to read. So as long as you, and main thing is during the interview, use them because they're showy. But then of course talk about them if they bring them up. Like, hey, I was like, use the ternary expression. Yeah, I like to use them once in a while. Depends on the situation because they are hard to read. So depending on the situation, I may or may not use it. And that just shows that you're aware of the power of the ternary expression, while also at the same time being aware they aren't the most legible, so you won't go crazy with them. And that's a great thing to show. And again, it really just shows that knowledge. So good stuff. All right, so now let's use this to work with our die now. Let's get rid of all that stuff. Let's create a die. Well, actually, no, let's do this. Yeah, this is fun. I'm gonna play high-low. Create a die. A very simple game here. Die equals new die. One, two, new die. Now roll them both. Die one, not roll. That roll. All right. Then I'm gonna do this out. Double. Yeah. One plus two. I should do this. One. Oh, wait. Ah, dang it. No one's been catching me up on this. Face of value. Face of value. I was going to get a bunch of memory addresses. Now let's do right here. Hold on. S out. Another S out. Number be higher or lower.
Now, HackerRank encourages you to close the scanner. Is that something that's absolutely necessary?
Not in our system because it will close when the application closes, but in their system, since they're using something in the server, it helps for them to close it so that it saves memory and it actually does get closed without you having to leave the page. So
Okay.
otherwise, the program will keep running in the background, and that could be a problem.
I see.
But but if you're doing it like a project, you probably want to close it. If
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Let's add it there. Good call though. I'm fine with adding it. Might as well be clean, be professional, be good. Let's get that. And so again, I'm putting here to do H or L for higher or lower. I'm going to do die one dot roll again. Dot roll. Yeah. Again. And let's just do a if. Wait, hold on. Just a couple of situations here. Oh, let's do total. Dot base of value plus 2. Okay. Yeah, I probably should have saved the first one, shouldn't I? I need that, don't I?
yeah,
I need to save this, don't I? Dang it. New total. Oh, we just do total here and new total below. That'll work better. Like that. Oh, not that. I didn't copy. That. Here I can do. There we go. Do new total. So now we have a new total and our existing total. So now.
Line 14 needs a semicolon.
Semicolon where? That one. Thank you. So I'm going to do the first thing. If total equal to new total, just to save ourselves some effort, not to do any logic. Out. Same number, you lose. So we're going to do the evil system and play like the gambling system, same number, instant loss. So that'll be simple. We'll work with that to start. Out. We're going to do this thing here. We're going to print this first and tell them whether or not they win or lose. So, yeah. New total. Dang it.
don't you want to put an input statement in? No.
Did I put that yet? No, I didn't. Dang it.
Nope.
Dang it.
Roll through. No input.
String input equals scanner. Very good call. Yeah, we probably should get the input first and then roll the dice. All right, so go slow down for a second. I thought it was gonna be smaller, but it's getting a little more than I expected, so. But here we got a little time to catch up. So we got our 2 dice, we roll them to initialize them. We create a total of those 2 dice, and we output, hey, here's the total of the 2 dice. Will the next number be higher or lower? And then we get that guess from the person. We're expecting them to give us an H or an L. And we roll the 2 dice to get the new dice values and the new total. We're going to do the simple catch case, which is rare, but easy to, it's simple logic. If it's the same, we're going to just say you lost. Sound good?
We're catching up.
Get noise. That's what I'm saying. Write out what you got.
What do you got, a cold?
He heard you.
Guess he didn't hear me.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you got a cold or something?
I have no idea what I have, and it's terrifying.
That sounds scary.
Yeah, I don't know. Health isn't great at the moment, but it's not terrible. So all I know is I'm vaccinated, so it shouldn't be that, but I don't know.
It'd be a mild. That's what they say, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing doctors, plural, next week, so we'll see what's going on.
Take some vitamin C and zinc and magnesium.
I've heard that. I've
No,
heard that.
seriously, like
Yeah.
boost your immune system.
Well, the problem is that I need to have a bad immune system to stay alive. So,
It's just the opposite.
right.
That sounds
So,
interesting.
well, I have an autoimmune disease, so I need to keep that under control. So,
Yep.
last couple of years have not been fantastic for my
No.
stress levels.
I can imagine. Oh, that just sounds like a pain in the ass. The idea that your own body wants to kill itself is just a scary thought.
Yeah, I did not win the genetic lottery.
That's the way to put it.
What are all these other things that you changed up top? All right, in total.
Yeah, sorry. I realized I need the total to be saved so that we can compare it against the new one. So, yeah.
Base value plus.
You spelled lose wrong on line 24.
Mhm.
You said you wrote loose.
Thank you. I doubled hit the O. I was looking for syntax. And
That's being really mean, Cliff.
Yeah, very loose.
Boy.
Oh no.
Late night coding.
I'm done. I don't know.
Again, I thought this was gonna be quick, but I probably should have just stuck with 1 die instead of doing 2 dice. That was my mistake. But I wanted to make it a little more interesting. Whatever, it's fine. Coding a bit more than I intended, but so say number. If not, so the problem is we have 4 scenarios. There's the what the numbers actually do compare, and then what the person guessed. So a safe thing to do here is actually just to know whether or not the new number is higher than the other one, and then compare with what the player said. So a nice one to do is do bool is larger.
Boolean.
Thank you. I forgot that's Haskell. Bool. Dang it. Bool is larger.
Isn't JavaScript also bool?
I think so. Yeah. We do is the new total larger than the old total?
Oh, right.
I'm gonna check that. So that's gonna either say yes or no. Yes, the new total is larger, or no, the new total is not larger. Simple as that. Now we can just do a simple, this out. Hold on. No, not that. Sorry. Slight change. If input equal to H. Now there's two options here. If they did input is equal to H, if now in this situation, if the number is larger, they win. If it's lower, they lose. So we can do the ternary here. Or we can actually, where did that else? We're gonna do the exact same output, right? The same output text, but just different scenarios. So it might be better here to do a did win flag, right? So we can do the conditional here and then print out the right item down here. It might be nicer. Otherwise, we have to print the same thing twice. We're going to do the if is larger, you win, you lose. Over here, if is larger, you lose, we lose again.
One isn't one if not larger.
Well, that's what this one is. Yeah. So input H for higher.
Yeah.
So if higher.
Then I'm talking about like what line 30, like down on the else, down that one right there. That if larger.
Yeah. Yes, if lower. Yes, lower.
And
Printout message is different.
And it's automatically, else is automatically the opposite since it's a
Yeah.
Boolean. There's only two options.
Exactly. So in this case, we're saying they guess even if they didn't enter L, we're not going to error check the user. So they enter H, they guess higher. If they enter anything else, we're just telling them, hey, you guessed lower. Screw you. Follow our rules. So that's kind of what we're following here.
Okay.
But since there's only two options, we can do an if else. We don't have to explicitly say if input is equal to L. We could do that and then on the below this be like, you didn't answer us, so you lose instantly. So we could always do that if we wanted to, but this is fine.
No, I'm just wondering why the both if is larger, if is larger are both the same.
Because we have the Boolean here. We check the two numbers together once.
Wouldn't one be if not larger?
We could do that, but again, it's just here I could do you lose or you win. So
okay.
If I want to do the same order, then yes, I could do if not is larger, then you win.
Oh, you lose. Oh, yeah. Okay.
I swapped those, so you lose.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way is fine. Same thing here. If we just swap to here, these would just swap. So it didn't really matter. Either way, whatever makes sense for anyone here. I just figured this would make more sense so that they because what I want to show here is that with the same, we're just swapping these items. So what I could do here is just create a win flag, and that way I can just print the you win line or the you lose line once, and having to type them both the same, right? No, maybe not.
It would look like cleaner, maybe.
Well, that's yeah. Let me show you guys what it looks like without it. Hold on. We'll do that first. We'll do that. I can be more specific here. So number is higher. Okay. Higher. Dang it. Is not double. And
Be on 35, wouldn't that be lower?
yeah. Well, no, not on this one. This one would be that they guessed higher, but the number was lower. Oh wait, yeah, damn it. You're right. Thank you. Number is lower. You're right. Thank you. So you lose. Let's do that's out. Lower. I forgot double quotes. Lose.
I think that one is higher as well.
What's that?
I think that one is higher because it's if it's larger.
Yes, it is. Higher. Thank you. I probably should have done with a switch statement. Dang it. Whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest the switch statement. I prefer
I want to
those
keep it
over
simple. In this case, to print the switch statement would give me kind of the scenarios that I'm looking at to remind myself what's going on. Number is lower, you win. All right. Good there. And then we just end the game. So let's see if this works at least. If it doesn't work, we'll fix it. What do we think? Higher or lower, people?
Higher. Lower. Lower.
Keith is trying to make me lose. Yay, I win.
Yeah, I won.
I heard higher like, whew.
Loser.
Well, that didn't give me the right number. Wait a minute.
Scanner, would you make it too lowercase? Just in case they
We could
typed
do
in a
that,
capital
yeah.
letters.
Yeah, I'm always the type of person that says I will error check later or make my system safer after the system works first, instead of me worrying about error checking first. Because once I know the logic
That
works,
does
if it
not
suddenly
look
breaks, then I know my
mathematical.
error checking is what's not
That
working.
doesn't look very.
Yeah, that didn't work right. That's not correct. What the hell?
What?
The way that you're checking for input, is that valid on line 29 in the if condition?
Oh, you're adding die 1 twice. On
Oh. Thank you.
That'll do it.
You know, now that you mention it, you're right, because the previous number wasn't right either.
Every time, in fact.
Dang it. Wait, down here too? No, I did that one right.
No. I just meant that'll do it every time.
Wait, what about the input? 35, you said it, what was it?
On line 29 in the if condition, that's valid, right? To check it like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Dot equals. It says to use it.
Oh, right, because I forgot. I'm thinking
Because
Java
it's strings.
script. Yeah, equals, strings. Yeah, you're not really supposed to use double equals. Nice
But
catch on
double
that.
equals
Yeah,
works for characters, I think.
it does, but yeah, since I'm using strings, it's not safe. What I was doing was fine, but it's considered unsafe. So yeah, you want to do the input dot equals, string dot equals other string. So good catch on that. I didn't think I totally missed that. But yeah, it's again, it's unsafe. You can get side effects. So definitely 9 times out of 10 use equals. All right. That looks right now. Hey Keith, what am I going to do this time?
Lose.
Actually, higher.
So higher. Yeah, that
Still
totally
trying to
lost.
fix Mike.
Wow. But at least it worked. So we did get told we lost. Let's do a higher lose. Damn it, that's right in the middle. It's apparently in the middle, so I might win anyway. So we'll try higher lose, hopefully. Yeah, it did. So the scenarios work. It seems like it works.
The same
Everyone
number.
go test theirs.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did get the same number. Fun.
it's rigged.
Totally is. Yee. That one. What the hell? Well, it did swap them at least. At least die 1 was the 2 and not the second one. Jesus.
They give you one and 2 again.
There we go.
Oh, give you 2 spots.
Nice.
Still
All right, so
give
what
you
we're
a
gonna
2
do.
though.
What's that?
Still give you a 2.
It did. Anyway. All right, so I want to switch this up a quick bit. No, what I want to show is that on this, let's go ahead and say did win. We can do a Boolean value now to say did win. So Boolean is winner. No, did win. Did win's fine. Equals. And we'll leave it blank for the moment. So here we're actually going to do did win equals true. And we can copy paste that over here. And I don't need that. Here I'm going to do did win false. That. And what I can do here is like, if I want to, I can keep the number is higher, number is lower, number is higher, number is lower. What I could do actually instead though, is also put that up here, right? And I can do S out is larger, ternary. We take advantage of the ternary expression now. Now I don't need these anymore. So I'm going to get rid of the printouts in our conditionals. Get rid of that, and that.
Would you ever initialize did win with false and then wherever and never like have to set it to false again unless
we could.
the winning condition is met?
That we could do, and that would also clean it up. And so that's actually a really nice way of putting it.
Just
We
less
assume
lines.
that the person's going to lose. In that case, we say here, they were right. So now we don't need the else condition at all.
And then we just
We
change
lose the
the
else
if in the
Only
bottom
this.
to not.
Larger. And we no longer need the else. See how that works? We're following along. So we initialize the window false. We assume the person's going to lose. We base it on the assumption the person's going to lose, and the conditional is going to prove that wrong. That's what the purpose of the conditional is. We use this to print out what the numbers, not this one, sorry, this one to print out what happened with the number, but I'm actually going to move that down one because I want it to show up after we print. So shift down, there we go. So to swap those two, we want to print the new total first and then tell them whether or not it's higher or lower. Otherwise, it seems very rigged. Then we print whether it's higher or lower before showing the numbers. We then do the did win, and then down here we can do another conditional, another S out, did win, win, colon, you lose. Follow that change up. Kind of cool, right? We're going to be able to clean that up a little bit by just recognizing some of the patterns there. Again, right off the bat, I didn't recognize that took me, as I started building that thing out, I was starting to notice moments. I started recognizing the patterns very quickly that I could probably change them. Like, no, let me start by writing it all out dirty first. Make sure it works. Once I know it works, now I can come back and clean it up. And that's fine. So as you're coding your stuff, if you're coding out these kind of fairly nested if statements and not really taking advantage of conditionals, not really taking advantage of predisposing items and realizing, oh, I don't need to set the false if it already is false. I can clean this up. Recognizing, oh, I can do a ternary here. I can print that out first and then print that out here after. Not recognizing that is okay in the beginning. As you look through, you'll find the repetition and you'll be like, oh, repetition is bad. And so there's something that there's another acronym we use in code, and I don't know if you guys have actually heard of any of the others, but there's a nice acronym in code we use called keeping your code. It's kind of saying like you want dry code. This is an acronym, not like clean. Clean's not an acronym. This is an acronym. DRY. Does anyone know what DRY stands for?
Don't repeat yourself.
That is it.
Yeah, Mosh said it.
Oh, good. I was wondering if he did or not. I thought he did. I was trying to remember if he did or not. I was like, was that Mosh who says that? I hope he does. Once you start seeing repetition, that should at least be a flag in your head. Oh, I can refactor this somehow. You may not know how, and that's fine not knowing how in the beginning. But building in that instinct to recognize, oh, I have some repetition here. I can clean this up. That's the first start of the skill. That's how you build that habit of recognizing that what you're about to type is going to be inefficient. You'll start recognize that better and better once you first develop that skill to start noticing the repetition. So I'm sure several of you noticed that I had those moments like, ooh, do I want to write it this way or a different way? And that was me reading, ooh, do I want to write it the cleaner way? And I'm like, no, don't start with the cleaner way, the smaller way. Start a little more, start dirty, because you can always refactor after, once you know it works. Let's see if this still works. All right, what's our guess?
Higher.
Nice, good stuff. All right, so I have a coding challenge for the weekend now. I'm going to push this out to GitHub. Git add-a as is, git commit-m hello game. Push. So what I want people to do is to attempt to take this game, and I want this game to repeat until you lose. That's the challenge for the weekend. Modify this code to play the game repeatedly until you lose. Once you lose, you can exit the game. So think about how to do that. Bonus challenge, get to score them, count how many times they go, and display that before you leave. So keep track of how many times in a row they win. Sound good?
Sure.
So that's the challenge for the weekend. See if you can turn this into a repeating game until they lose. So if they win, run another round. Every time they get it right, go another round. Once they lose, show them their, if you, again, the advanced challenge is to get the score, show them their score and quit out. Otherwise, just quit out if you don't want to do the score. Score is easy to add once you get the main flow of win, run again, lose, quit. Sound good?
That's good.
All right. Go for it, everybody. I will see everyone on
Hey,
Monday.
Cliff,
I will
Cliff,
push this
before we
into-
go,
Yes.
can I show my dice roller because I did something different with it. I'm pretty excited about it, and it might inspire somebody else. I don't know.
Go for it. I'm curious. I love that kind of stuff. This makes me happy too. Now I'm curious.
Oh, Mike, you're muted if you're talking.
Oh yeah, you're probably holding on the space key, I'm guessing. It's up at the top
I
now,
used
by the way.
space key, so I was like,
Yep.
I definitely need to refactor because there's some repetition. But
Mhm.
check this out, guys. I came up with this on my own too.
Let's see.
That's definitely a rough looking Yahtzee thing.
Yeah,
I
don't.
think.
It's only the dice roller. It's not the full game yet. But check this
Yeah.
out. Boom.
Oh, wow.
That's nice.
There we go.
And then like to hold the dice, you just like enter the position of the dice held.
Yeah.
Press 8. If you want to unhold dice, you do it at this point. Then just press 8. It'll hold
Because
those
you're
and then
entering
hold
wait,
again.
position.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
okay.
gave the
8 to
dice
continue.
like a
Oh,
number.
you're like, what was 8? And I just realized 8's continue. Okay, never mind.
8 to continue. That's my lucky number. So,
Gotcha.
so if I want to like hold a 6 this time, I'll just do that's the first dice. The dice when it's held.
You actually have a UI.
Yeah.
Good.
So
There's gonna be a
cool.
challenge here to do a very, very basic UI in the Yahtzee thing. We are gonna build a very basic UI. But I like
Within
that.
the console?
The real challenge here would be, could you actually get that to show them horizontally? That could be the real challenge.
Not at the moment because
No, but
what I
that'd be
did
cool.
was like in the to string method.
So each die has its own two-string method. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just did like a new line, so it always starts with a new line. That's why it's horizontal.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
Very cool.
I want to
Very
show
cool.
Lenny for a second.
Time to get that Lenny face for mine.
Like I said, everyone's challenged for the weekend. Don't worry about that right now. Don't panic. It's all fine.
I'll show what he wants.
What's that?
I'll show what he want. What you're trying to strive to
There you go.
on my code. I just want to show my code for a second.
Don't show the code. It's okay to show us the
Show the
results.
run.
Because the showing
show
the code is going to teach people how to make it.
No.
Wait, you have the horizontal dice?
Yeah, actually, I did it with ANSI with ASCII as well. So was this gonna run?
What is this white IntelliJ, bro?
Look at this. Oh my God. These
this is
guys
my
need to go
alternate
into a
one.
different cohort.
No.
I like that one.
Yeah, I have like 2 styles. I have this one in case it doesn't do the ASCII, and this one just so it'll be normal. But I have mine set up so it will
Very nice.
will output stuff.
I like how you
All
put the
right.
die number next to
Jim,
it
it's
also.
time to go out and get a job.
He's
Yeah,
very
you do it.
close. He's
this
just
one
here
you
to
do,
kind of
like-
learn his fundamentals again and get faster. That's his
Yeah.
big goal here.
So what you do
Relearn
is
his
you
fundamentals, his
turn
base ground level, and get faster.
where you type in the numbers all at once. Like if
Did you
wanted to
do all this tonight
Oh,
during
no.
class?
No,
Oh, all right.
I
We
had
did this before.
I had the basic Yahtzee done, but now I'm refactoring and enhancing this more, so it's going to do a lot more. And it'll even tally up. Now we'll go to tally score and it'll actually do my occurrence, so I'll know how many dies I have in the hand. So it'll show I have 1 6, I have 3 2, I have 2 3s and 2 2s, so I can actually start doing a scorecard.
You've been expanding on this. I can see that, yeah. So no, don't
Yeah.
forget, he's been part of cohort 11, so he built this a while ago. He's just building on top of it now. So
And build up more on it.
he's expanding now.
That's
Jim,
why
This
I
is
was
not
so
what he
excited
submitted.
and wanted to show mine first because I know there's a lot of really smart guys in this class. I knew someone else came up with something better, so
Oh, yours came out really good. I'm very
Mike,
happy.
this was
very
a year
happy that you
ago.
actually did the-
I'm
did
gonna
the
argue.
UI
I
because-
don't argue. This is not what he submitted to me.
No, when I did my first one, I only had the die numbers. I did not do these squares like you did. So I mean, you've
that's
already
it.
like went beyond what I've done when I initially did this.
So you can
That's
still take
cool.
credit for that, Mike. You're still good.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. But
Don't show any code.
How's
No,
that?
I was just I did mine in the console for
It's not
showing
like
the
we
output of that.
understand code anyway. You can show it all you want. It doesn't matter.
So, yeah. Anyhow.
Jim,
I
how did
printed a number.
Well,
You got to remember, he also built. He got to expand on this after he saw the next level challenge, which was the card games, which gave more introduction into packages and instances, interfaces, and abstract classes. So he had more knowledge to go into this with more advanced features. So always be aware of that. This is something, and that's the other thing that's really cool about the Yahtzee thing. Once we go into the next program, next challenge, once we learn about interfaces, abstract classes, and private systems and packaging, you could definitely come back to Yahtzee and make it more fancy, easily. All right, Jim, kill it. Let me wrap up. So again,
surprised to see you use Microsoft Edge.
Oh yeah, he has a Surface laptop, I remember.
Yeah. I like Edge is the same as Chrome. I just got used to using Edge because it connects to my Microsoft account and everything's under one roof now. But I use Google.
They're actually killing Edge now.
I would not get
Oh,
a
yeah?
job if I used Edge.
Yeah, they're actually killing Edge.
Really?
Oh yeah, Internet Explorer and Edge both, they're getting killed. It's gonna get it's got end of life coming up. They finally realized no one uses it.
No matter how much they try to force you.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know,
What's gonna
right?
happen to the Bing?
Have a Bing. Oh yeah, they're gonna realize that doesn't use much yet. When are they gonna realize that's dead?
Well, I can use all the Chrome extensions under the Edge, so I mean it's
There you go.
basically Chrome.
That's what I'm saying. They're probably just building Chrome anyway, so might as well just switch over and be like, here, just have Chrome.
Wouldn't start
'cause,
switching
yeah,
over, Jim.
I will say Edge is my favorite browser to download Chrome with. Joel, what was your question?
Oh, I just said I would start switching over if they're gonna kill it.
Yeah,
Just so you don't
I
get
gotta double
caught
check
off
to make sure it
guard
wasn't
with it.
just a clickbaity title, but I saw it
I've
somewhere.
I've heard
I keep
that.
forgetting to look at
but
it.
And they're
that could
coming
just
with
be
Windows
straight
11
up.
now, so I guess it's part of that.
Probably.
Windows 11 will ship with something else. It's not Edge.
As long as they don't give it another name, then I'll be happy, because they were like, we're no longer going to do Internet Explorer, and then they came out with Edge with the same symbol. Like, yeah, they're like, Internet Explorer has a bad reputation. Like, you didn't get rid of it by keeping the same symbol and using an E still. It's still Internet Explorer. Just you may call it Edge, but it's, no, you haven't gotten away from your bad reputation yet. Sorry. It was like such a bad move. Anyway, software gore. It's an interesting concept. Need to marketing team 100%.
Hire the focus group.
Yep, they definitely need one. That's probably what they made. That's probably what they did to realize Internet Explorer has a bad reputation. Like, oh, we'll just change it to Edge. God, they really should have just kept it Internet Spartan, which was the project name for it.
That's
so
sounds badass.
Right.
I
Of course,
use
I think they got
Spartan.
called out that all of their things keep getting named after Halo, the video game. Cortana is from Halo. Spartan is the name of the soldiers in the game. So
Yeah.
they were probably going to start getting called out on that. Surprised they didn't call Windows 11 Halo.
What's next? They're gonna rename Microsoft Office to Master Chief
Seriously,
Office
Covenant.
Covenant. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They've
Can't be
always
too
had-
obvious. Can't be too obvious.
Like,
Gotta
to
make
go-
sure that the words only fit for those who know the game.
Stupid.
Was that going?
Oh, just how they went like the Xbox and the 360s, literally right back where you came from, and then the
one.
No sense. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, their numbers are really just being mean to people. Anyway, if anyone trying to find the original Xbox, good luck on that. You can't say Xbox One. They got to do what is it? PlayStation has to go PlayStation X now or something like that to find the original.
PSX, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, not important. Like I said, just again to make sure no one forgets what the assignment is. If you weren't able to code along fully or it doesn't work, you can always pull down the GitHub. If it works, use your code, of course. Your challenge is to take the code that high-low game, turn it into a repetitive game. It's going to keep playing until the player loses. When they lose, they can exit the game. If you want one more additional challenge, you can always you can always have the system ask they want to play one more time. You can always do that if you want. But since we're not building multiple methods and stuff, multiple classes, that's going to cause the code in main to get very, really long. So I want to keep it fairly small and simple. So just turn the game into it starts the game. As if they win, they get asked again. And once they lose, the game exits. And bonus points to getting a score, showing how many times they got it right.
All right,
Sound
I'll run the
good?
back end for that and have a tally on a spreadsheet for you.
There you go.
What's the link to these videos? It's my
What's that?
playlist, right?
Oh, it's in the it's on the playlist. So if you go to classroom course Java materials, there's a link to the YouTube playlist. So
Okay.
I think your classroom has it too, Will. Oh no, you're in cohort 12's classroom on Google. Actually, I'm tempted to just have the cohort 12 people adding you to the classroom just so you have their links in case I forget it. I'm not sure yet though. We'll see. But yeah, I've been posting it to both. But yeah, you should have it. You definitely have access to it, Will. So you're good. Yeah, it's a playlist. Any other questions?
Can I just get your GitHub username?
I have none.
Oh, great.
I'll be available this weekend if you guys send me a ping to like work on this. If anybody wants to like team up and get a breakout room together. I remember we
Go for it. Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, if anybody wants to get together and work on stuff, I'm around. I'll be around.
I'll be playing the Scurvy Dog on Sunday at 5:30. If anybody's interested in seeing some indie rock, I'll play in the parking lot show.
That's awesome.
Cool.
I
Hey,
think
those
it
are
goes
free,
from
aren't
like it's free and
What kind
yeah.
of music you play?
Yeah, what's your band called?
My band name is called 123 Astronaut. We're on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff.
Scurvy Dog?
Yeah,
Where
the
is it?
Scurvy Dog.
Where that is.
On the west side, yeah.
Yeah. We'll
Is this
to
for
see
real?
that,
Yeah.
Wait,
I
is
think he's
Scurvy Dog a
serious.
restaurant?
What's that? No, it's not a restaurant. No, it's a bar.
No, it's a bar, but we'd love to speak to the chicken place over there.
Yeah.
Where is that? Is that somewhere I can walk
Nice.
to?
I totally thought you were joking at first, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I thought it was
I'm like, he's really like digging in on this joke.
for a split second. When he said I'm going to be playing, I thought for a second he was going to mention the logic chart puzzle game again.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Scurvy Dog." I'm like, that's not the site. What's this?
I downloaded a Logic Grid app. I've been playing them a lot now.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, work on again, deductive reasoning. If you can't get into code, at least do one of those. Work on those skills that developers benefit from. That at least benefit you, and it can help you get away from that code burnout, that code blur that you can sometimes get involved in. So if you can't look at the code, if it's hurting your eyes, you're having trouble looking at code because just like the letters are just starting to string together, at least do something that works with your problem solving. Listen to something intelligent, watch something, listen to something like I said, the Darknet Diaries for me, again, it's a great way to keep in the technological field and listen to other people solve problems and how they solve problems and just get an interesting story. So it's entertaining, but those are the things I try to do so that I stay in the realm while it's still tricking my mind to be like, I'm not doing homework. I'm not doing work. So that's one of the key items. Sound good? Okay, I'll see everybody on Monday. Have a great weekend. I'll be hanging around. Office hours will be from 1 to 3 on Sunday. I'll post a Zoom link that people can just pop in if you want to. So there will be a waiting room, but yeah, you pop in. I'll let people in one at a time. You can ask me questions, show me code, get some one-on-one time, all that stuff. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, see you then.
Awesome.
Take
All
care.
right, good
See ya.
guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I can't hit the leave meeting button. There we go. See ya.
Yeah.